Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind.
Forgot to turn on the cameras. It's been that kind of morning, man. It's been that kind of morning.
Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to Season 5 and episode number 641 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Tuesday, May 6th, 2025. Going back into time there. And it looks like it'll be an okay day here at the Beaver Lodge. Looks like the sun is going to make a bit of an effort today. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, eh? And with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. Big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. Got a big show for you today, but before we go into anything else, Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health today, sir?
Well, I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning, wide awake, and tried to get back to sleep, and then slept from 6 to 6:30. I went to bed during the second period last night watching the hockey game. I think it was a little after 9. I was just tired, and my allergies had kicked my butt all day yesterday. I mean, mental health-wise, yesterday wasn't terrible. It really wasn't. So I'm hoping today will be great, because I need a great day. I haven't had a great day in a while. I don't know how long. I'm not marking it on the calendar. Maybe I should. A good day today. Should mark that down. But yeah, I think okay. So far, so good, and hopefully it will continue down that pathway. I did get good sleep last night. I understand the Leafs did win. 5-4 was the final score.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting. It was exciting.
I really don't give a shit. Don't.
Oh, come on.
No, I don't. And I had a conversation with a friend of mine about this. She grew up in Toronto, but she's been living in Ottawa longer than she lived in Toronto. She was a Leafs fan. She's been working at CTC. She worked there for about a decade, part-time, because she has a full-time gig. And she has season tickets, and she's a full dyed-in-the-wool Sens fan now. And I said, she goes, it's not that I hate the Leafs as a franchise or a team or any of the players. She says, what I hate is they have the worst fans in the league. And I'm like, well, you mean the ones who come to Ottawa, get drunk out of their mind and start fist fights in the stands? She goes, yeah, those guys are pretty bad. But what I'm getting at is the guys who just literally, they lost a game in the playoffs and they start burning their sweaters, showing them throwing a $200 sweater that you paid for on the fire pit in their backyard, pouring lighter fluid on it and tossing a match. Like, what? She goes, that's not a fan. A fan supports your team. Now, you can still support your team, watch them through thick and thin. If the team is terrible and is playing terrible hockey and isn't winning and the ownership isn't doing anything to improve the franchise, I'm probably not going to spend $150 to sit in the stands to watch them. but I will watch them on TV. I'm not going to burn a sweater I paid money for. And well, Dan's like, "Where's the Leaf shirt?" And I'm like, "Well, tell you what, bud. You send me one, and I'll wear it. But I'll be damned if I'll pay a red cent for any sort of paraphernalia from that franchise. I don't.
Oh,
I have Ottawa stuff. I've not bought any of it. It's all been gifted to me.
okay.
Look, you want me to wear your sweater? Pay me. That's my take on it. Pay me. Yes, Curtis from Alberta is a true blue fan,
Yes.
and I appreciate Curtis from Alberta because he's fully on board. Win, lose, draw, he still supports the team.
Yeah, and he had a copyright thing happen.
Oh, did he?
Did he? Yeah, I
I don't
thought
know.
so. That he was. Yeah, he's not like allowed. There's certain things he wasn't allowed to do anymore, or a podcast that he was doing because it had like too much people. Not exactly sure, but it's like
He's promoting your team for free.
come on, man.
What is wrong with people?
I'll look it up in a break to see if I find something. But yeah, um, something happened. Yeah, I remember. Like, I can't even remember like if it's like 2 years ago or like within the last year, or whatnot. But I have like this notion in the back of the filing cabinet that is my brain that I saw a YouTube video of him saying like this, like I have to do this and stuff like that. It's real bad. Like I still love the Leafs, but type thing. I could be misremembering, but for some reason I have like this very vivid memory of it.
Yeah, I don't know anything, but you could be probably right. I don't know. It's like, you know how litigious these companies can be these days. Like if I was to wear a logo with an S on it in a triangular shape on this program and said the name repeatedly, I would probably get a cease and desist letter from DC studios.
Yeah,
Disney is the most litigious amongst them. They're like, forget it. If you promote their stuff in any way that they don't approve of, they will sue you into oblivion.
huh?
Yeah. Oh, they do. They've literally sued people who were like small time content creators because they were, promoting the thing that they loved. I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. Michael
Wow.
kind of an evil overlord when it came to that. He's no longer there, I don't think. You can read all about him online. Not the nicest fellow. Hey, I get
There we go.
protecting your brand, but copyright was not meant to last forever. It's not in
Yeah.
perpetuity. And when the copyright was coming up for the mouse, they lobbied, I think, the Reagan government at the time to change it. So the copyright expires 70 years after the death of the individual who created it,
Right.
which is still too long if you ask me.
Yeah.
Yeah, once I'm gone, 5 years for my ancestors or relatives to figure their shit out, and then, that's my take on it. It's not
Yeah.
meant to last forever. It's supposed to be during your lifetime. 70 years after you're dead?
Yeah.
That
I
seems
found it.
excessive.
Yeah, I found it here. It was November 2024, so it wasn't that long ago.
Mhm.
He was muzzled by Molson. Curtis Stevenson, who goes by the moniker Curtis from Alberta, said, let's see, going through the article really quickly. Yesterday, he announced that he will have to take a break from posting content online after Molson, the official beer sponsor of the Leafs, served him with a lawsuit. Molson claims that Curtis has been using the Leafs' likeness to help promote a beer called North Beer, which violates trademark law, and as a result, they have served him with a cease and desist order. He made the
Yeah.
announcement in a video that has since been deleted from social media, but thankfully I managed to transcribe the video before it was taken down. Quote, I got a call today that I can't make videos anymore unless I drink the beer of the sponsor of that team. Curtis says in his video yesterday, the beer company has flagged me. We are going to send a cease and desist order or something with legal action if I continue. This is crazy. I can't even drink a certain beer. It's not even about my beer. I can't drink any beer other than the beer with a certain team's logo anywhere in the background, he says, while looking upset and frustrated. I can't wear a jersey, can't wear a helmet or anything unless I drink that certain beer. This is madness, he says. I've done nothing but support this team through and through.
Yeah.
This is the little guy gets kicked in the teeth again by all these big corporations, and I won't stand for it. So I'm not going to be bullied into drinking that beer because I'm told I have to. That's the most ridiculous thing. I'm in the comfort of my own home in my basement doing nothing but celebrating this team.
Yeah, that's a little far-reaching, don't you think?
It's a bit.
I mean, so now I think he drinks Bud Light, which is Labatt.
It's just like,
Kind of like, oh, really?
Come
So
on,
you're going to
man,
get
leave
mad
well
at me?
enough alone.
You're going to get mad at me because I'm not drinking the beer you specifically demand that I drink? Well,
Yep.
screw you. Screw you. I'm drinking this one
I
instead, your
know, just
competitor.
leave well enough alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like this last night when I went to bed, I was like, and Leafs haters across the country, forgive me, because, but could that possibly be that thing I felt? Could it possibly be belief?
Until they lose a game, in which case you'll have a lot of them that'll just lose their minds and burn sweaters again.
Now, I know it's been a long time since 1967, and I know that belief is a very, very risky emotional venture.
Oh, but
It's usually setting yourself up for very, very
how many
big
times have you
disappointment.
heard people say, "Look, man, I've been down this road before. Stop planning the Stanley Cup parade route, okay? Just don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it."
I I like the Boston Pizza commercials, right? It's like, "We're planning the cup parade
Yeah.
anyway. Screw that." Hmm. Alright, but hey, no, it was a good effort at the end there. I mean,
Looks like
uh,
Stolars might be out with a
the
concussion though, eh?
yeah, I mean, it, like, just kept picking up and picking up and picking up and picking up at the end, so it's like if the next match picks up where the last one ended, so, whoo, they were going at it. They were really competing. Let's just put it that way. The opposing team really did not want to lose that match. So the Leafs had to, it wasn't like they were leading by a couple and then they could just skate the last like 5 or 7 minutes. They had to compete right to the last buzzer. All right, kids and cubs, taking another little look at the markets today because today is the day that the Prime Minister and IQ 47 finally have that meeting. We'll get into that a little bit there today because, well, the respect thing doesn't seem to be happening much. so, uh, I I understand that in politics, sometimes we end up parsing stuff and, it might end up being too like, well, in the room, there was respect. But yeah, the respect thing is quickly going out the window here. But on the eve of these meetings that will be looked at by everyone all around the world, because this is pretty much really substantially of all the 192 or so trade wars that he's waging simultaneously. Um, Basically, the biggest, most important partner, whatnot, to enter the room following all of this. So everybody's going to be looking at it to see what kind of happens, and we'll be taking cues. So it's even though for us as Canadians, looking a little bit more at our belly buttons, we're like going, "What about us?" This is actually a global event. This meeting.
Yes.
Uh, so on the international stock market, pretty calm on the Asian markets. Most things up. Anything that's down was like not even down by 0.2% in some things. The Shenzhen in China, which took a couple of big hits a while ago, was the best performer with 1.84 up for the day. Everything else around 1% or so. In Europe, pretty much at the moment, everything is down except for the FTSE 250 and the SMI in Switzerland, and those are only marginally up by like thousandths of a percent. Everything else is down, but relatively calm. The biggest thing that's down is the DAX in Germany. That's 0.8%. So again, maybe a treading water day as we're waiting to get some. The world is waiting to get some vibes about what goes on in the United States. Here in the Americas. Um, Everything is at the moment. Oh, yes, we have to look at the pre-market stuff here. Sorry, I was looking at yesterday's closing here. So for the pre-market on today's markets in North America, the implied open is down. So not by a lot. Again, 0.5% on the Dow, 0.6% on the S&P, about 0.9% on the Nasdaq. But people are, how would I put it? Um, Hoping for the best with this meeting, but looking at it with lots of trepidation. Because, as we mentioned yesterday, even though Trump does desperately need a win and could use a good news day, really he could. This is the most haphazard, ham-fisted, sloppy, ready, aim, fire, um, or ready, fire, aim type administration out there. So, and it is prone to be particularly self-destructive. So we never know what's going to really happen here. But the world is hoping for some good stuff. Prime Minister Carney, remember we showed you a clip the other day telling us to not be looking for white smoke, right? There's not going to be any big resolution today. You know, if we are lucky, like really, really lucky, there might be an announcement on the fentanyl tariffs, like a drop or an announcement that they're looking at that and maybe something will come down or there might be some movement on that because I think the prime minister has made it pretty clear that nobody understands why these ones are on anymore. Right? Nobody understands why they were on in the first place, and given what we've done, nobody understands why they're on anymore. And basic position is that Canada is not going to negotiate with a gun to its head, so those ones kind of have to come off, right? If we're going to do this seriously. The Prime Minister is not going alone. He's there with the Foreign Affairs Minister, Mélanie Joly, the International Trade and Intergovernmental Affairs Minister, Dominic Leblanc, and the Minister of Public Safety, David McGuinty. So it's like a team Canada meeting, somewhat, not just him. There's, when we're talking about the trepidation again, just right, it's because anything can happen. We all saw the meeting with Zelensky, right? And that's what everybody's wondering. Is there going to be a Zelensky type thing? Tonda McCharles of the Toronto Star here writes, a plan beats no plan, as Mark Carney likes to say, but in Donald Trump's White House, plans go out the window. It's going to be a perilous few hours for the newly elected prime minister as he navigates the first handshake, the postures, the unscripted remarks in front of a phalanx of cameras for a series of high-stakes meetings in Washington. When his plane landed here on Monday, there was a red carpet and a standard greeting by an acting U.S. protocol official and Canada's ambassador in Washington. Nothing fancy, nothing that attested to a special relationship. As Carney was flying to Joint Base Andrews outside the Capitol, Trump was already airily dissing their Tuesday's tete-a-tete. Quote, and this one is really rich. I'm not sure what he wants to see me about, but I guess he wants to make a deal. Everybody does. Well, gee, yeah, when you pull the rug out under from everybody and you say, make a deal with me or else, and then people start calling, it's like, then you like look and go, wow, look, everybody's calling me. Well, duh.
Yeah,
of
because
course.
you're tariffing the shit out of everybody and watching the global economy tank. Meanwhile, you tell your friends, today's a good time to buy.
Yeah.
And then lift the tariffs again to watch them make billions.
Yeah. And then number two, if you are the leader of the most powerful nation in the world, allegedly with the most powerful sort of research team and all that kind of stuff, and you still don't know why you're meeting the head of another G7 girl.
We're not dealing with a very smart man here.
You talk too damn much. just do the boilerplate thing. I'm very happy to be meeting him. The conversations we had on the phone were very productive. Seems like a nice man. I'm sure this will be the beginning of a wonderful relationship. Thank you. And walk away. I don't know why he wants to meet me. You sound dumb and ill-prepared. Carney may emerge from his first face-to-face meeting with Trump with punitive tariffs on Canadian autos, steel and aluminum still in place, new threats in the offing, and nothing more than a promise for how future trade and security talks should unfold. That would be a win in the eyes of key stakeholders and some premiers. Several told the Star Monday that it's unrealistic to expect the tariffs would be immediately lifted. Quote, I think that's asking a lot, said Jean Simard, a spokesperson for the Aluminum Association of Canada, adding that the economic impact is starting to be felt across U.S. supply chains, and that soon will be apparent to Trump. Flavio Volpe, head of the Auto Parts Manufacturers Association, said, quote, You don't go into a meeting like this saying you're going to get some concession against these tariff threats, or else. Rather, they and others expect success for Carney is more about framing the path forward. What will be on the agenda in a review next year of the Canada-US-Mexico free trade deal, whether those talks would start earlier, which would be a concession from Canada as it's not up for renegotiation. The point that we made a lot, we keep on hearing that, but it's only up for review, and it's the changes of last time.
Mm.
Like this, not full
That's correct.
renegotiation.
A review a year from now.
Yeah.
Not renegotiation, review.
Yeah. So this is supposed to be just like a check-in. Hey, how do those things go? They work at first. Do we need to make a couple of adjustments?
Do we need to massage it or change anything?
Yeah.
No? Okay, we're good. We'll keep rolling.
And we're good like for the next 15 years or something.
Well, I mean, if the tariffs he's levied are illegal,
yes,
they're in violation of the trade agreement, you can take them before the international court and you would win.
Yep. It'll just take forever though.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the industries will be decimated in the meantime.
Exactly. So let's fight fire with fire and see what we can renegotiate.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Carney will venture to Europe and create new trade routes.
Yeah, and everywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Again, we got the CPTPP countries. We got a free trade deal with India, with Indonesia. We just signed one with Ecuador. Well, again, we are the only G7 nation that has a free trade agreement with every other G7 nation.
The only one. Yeah.
We haven't maximized it yet because it's true. I mean, there's part of it that's, you take the path of least resistance, and it's like, well, Mike, I want to make all this effort to ship stuff overseas when I can just sell it to the United States. But now we have to. But it's not like we don't have the openings or the avenues. We just have to establish, work at building the relationships. So, and if every other country is in a trade war with the United States and risking being supplied things that the United States has that we happen to have too, well then, hello, new friends.
Well, I mean,
hey, it already happened to the United States with soybeans. Remember, we said it on the show. I guess they lost, I think, 9% market share that went to Brazil, and Brazil hasn't ceded it back yet. And China's quite happy with their new arrangement.
Why not? I'm sure China gets their soybeans cheaper from Brazil than they did from the U.S. anyway, because labor costs are lower.
China is willing to build ports and stuff like that in Brazil and in all those countries like this just to make sure that they can get them.
Speaking of ports, have you noticed the port in Seattle is empty?
Uh-huh. That's a sign.
That's a big sign. That's not going to be the only one. That's the first one.
Yep. That's the first place to look is the ports.
Yeah. And when you start to see there's less ships, less containers, that means less goods coming in, which means eventually people will start missing things that they like to take for granted. Well, instead of $30 or $40, you get 2. Instead of 250 pencils, you get 5. What century does he think this is?
I don't know, man. He's weird. He's just weird.
Because I know at Christmas, I was excited when I got pencils.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, especially if they were the click kind. Ooh, man.
Those were 250. Here's 250 HB number 2s.
Wow. We're taking notes, baby.
Oh boy.
Trump hailed the deal as a win at the time, saying it changes the trade landscape forever. Yet it didn't account for a broader range of issues now in place, such as artificial intelligence, critical minerals, potash, uranium, or energy. Quote, does it mean renegotiating? Could it be side agreements that could be annexed to the main agreement in order to avoid reopening the whole thing? Said Simard. Because it's like reopening the Canadian Constitution. If you do that, you know where you start, but you don't know where and when it will end. On Monday, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick told Nutlick City Limits told Fox News dismissively that it would be complex to get a new trade deal with Canada because they have been basically feeding off us for decades upon decades upon decades, right? They have their socialist regime and it's basically feeding off America. I mean, the president calls it out all the time. Why do we make cars in Canada? Why do I do our films in Canada? Come on. So I guess that respect thing.
This is more bullshit from the Trump regime. Yeah. It's the Trump gaslighting machine.
Yeah. Now, remember, these comments are for domestic consumption only, right? Yeah. You have to remember, if you're watching this from Canada, yeah, it's offensive. But remember, Howard Nutlick is the fall guy.
Oh, yeah.
Right. He's the fast-talking used car salesman, loudmouth,
That's an insult to used car
gesticulating
salesman.
guy. Yes. Pardon. Sorry.
The-
Stereotype of the used car
Yes,
salesman,
yes.
like this, wildly gesticulating and nah, ha, 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 slap you on the back hard like this. But
What do I got to do to
abs-
get you into this trade agreement?
but he basically gets undercut left, right, and center by IQ 47.
Yeah, every time he opens his mouth down
He's
there.
the fall guy. So you just pay him no mind. He's the carnival barker for domestic consumption.
He never
has no
said that.
power.
Okay, he said that, but he didn't mean it. Okay, he meant it, but it doesn't really mean what you think it means. What?
I'll tell you what he really meant. Why? Because the president doesn't know what he really means and can't express it. You need to reinterpret it for us. I wouldn't have confidence in somebody who needs you to tell me what he really said when he's going to be signing a contract. The person who signs the contract should have the mental acuity to be able to say what it is he signed.
Well, I mean, this is coming from a man who said just the other day said, I don't know if I should protect the Constitution.
Yeah.
Or uphold the Constitution. Is that what it was?
Yeah,
I don't
really.
have the quote here.
I know.
He doesn't know if everyone deserves due process. When asked if he was to uphold the Constitution, he says, I don't know. I have brilliant lawyers that work for me. Didn't you swear on an oath in January?
His hand didn't touch the Bible, remember?
Oh, right.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have to be a Bible, though. It can be anything.
Yeah, his hand didn't touch anything. Except probably himself. Oh, sorry, that was mean. That was mean. Sorry.
No, it's not mean. I don't. He could touch his arm because I don't think he can reach his.
Oh, okay, that was mean. Oh, and by the way, on the why do we do our films in Canada thing, from the Department of once again, you didn't think that through, did ya? Movies need to be shown on screens and on streaming services, Mr. Trump. So, Donald, if you would like all movies to be made in America, I guess every other nation could determine that on their movie screens and streaming services, only movies made outside America are shown.
Correct. That is a fact. A friend of mine, a late friend of mine, he passed away about a year ago. He was a film producer, and when the USMCA was signed, his phone started ringing off the hook immediately. It's like Netflix, amongst other streaming services, were setting up shop in Canada immediately to start producing content in Canada for Canadians so that they could keep that piece of their pie. Because if it's not produced in this country, we can say bye.
Yeah. So, yeah.
He's cutting off his nose to spite his face because
Exactly.
he's an idiot. He's an idiot.
It's like he wants everybody to come back and he was willing to sacrifice world global distribution of the films. Okay.
That
It's
will
like,
work out
it's
really
just
well in
dumb.
China. You know how many Hollywood films have serious financing coming from the country of China right now?
Mm-hmm.
Like something like 50% of the
Yeah.
films produced, all of the Avengers, all the Marvel films.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think they're able to produce $200 million movies so easily?
Oh, man. So, let's see. Letnit predicted that it would be, quote, a fascinating meeting between the two leaders, but added, I just don't see how it works out so perfect. Since Trump set out to change the global trading landscape with new tariffs against Canada and Mexico with worldwide import duties briefly on pause, global leaders have tried Washington to meet him. A senior Ontario official close to the file says they have not left with a consistent takeaway. Of course, again, that's Trump's thing. It's nailing Jello to a wall. Quote, the biggest challenge the world is facing is no one really knows what the Trump administration wants to achieve, and that makes it hard to sort of anchor a strategy. For how to respond, said the official who the Star agreed not to identify in order to talk frankly about sensitive trade talks. For Carney's team, quote, the challenge will be understanding Trump's objective and then ensuring Trump's, quote, objectives are maintained because they changed often and they changed fast, said the official. Quote, I think we should be realistic about what success looks like tomorrow. Carney may need to, quote, pivot quickly, the official added, because a new trilateral free trade deal may be hard to achieve. Quote, we've heard loud and clear from folks in the Trump administration that separate trade deals with Canada and Mexico is not an unlikely outcome out of all of this. But we need to fight that tooth and nail, because if that's the first step, because if it's a bilateral agreement, then they just crush us. Trilateral, at least every now and then we could be two against one.
Mm.
But that's the part of the deal that most all of this sideshow and these tariffs and whatnot is all to basically, when they say what Trump wants, what they really want is to get out of a trilateral deal. It's the only trilateral deal the United States has, and it does not permit them to bully Mexico and Canada one on one as easily as they could, and as easily as they bully every other nation. That's the thing they absolutely want to break up. It's not about supply management. It's not about digital services taxes.
No.
It's about breaking up a trilateral deal.
That's all it is.
That's the main objective. For the auto and sorry, I'm going to say it correctly. Aluminium. For the auto and aluminium sector representatives, it makes little sense to pivot away from the trilateral pact to bilateral deals, because their sectors are not only integrated but work across borders to stem threats from cheap Chinese imports. Volpe tempered his expectations. If Carney, quote, came out with some concessions against current threats, that'd be great, he said, but I don't expect the Prime Minister to go in hard negotiating on a first meeting. Instead, quote, it will be a conversation in which Trump may come to, quote, understand the intrinsic value of a Mark Carney-Canada partnership in order to show the world it's not just chaos with his White House, Volpe said. He surrounded himself with Wall Street guys who are much louder than anything we're all used to, but the Wall Street guys know who Mark Carney is, said Volpe. Carney landed just after 4 p.m. Monday and was set for a brief meeting organized by the Business Council of Canada with Canadian and American business leaders. On Tuesday, he has about 3 hours of meetings at the White House, including a working lunch with Trump and other officials and a meeting with just Trump. Over the weekend, Trump repeated his goal of making Canada his country's 51st state and said he'd raise it with Carney. He also leveled a new threat against the U.S. filmmaking industry, promising tariffs that would directly affect film and television production in Canada. So this is the classic Trump thing. Try to raise the fire, put you on the back foot, make you nervous, put a couple of screws more to you before you go into the meeting. So hopefully that will soften you up and you'll be willing to give more. Well, this is Mark Carney. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. But that's the Trump thing. Make you scared, destabilize you, announce a new tariff at the last moment. How you respond to that? Well, I didn't prepare for that. Well, no, like this, and hope that will get you. It's like, listen, it's going to be keep calm and Carney on. Right? So don't expect no matter how much Trump flaps his wings, moves airs, tries to make a show. That's it.
Yeah. Just
let it happen.
Let him paint himself into a corner.
Right. Carney sought to lower expectations Friday when he said his focus is on both immediate trade pressures and the broader future economic and security relationship, and that he'd take all the time necessary, but not more, in order to do so. Carney has also vowed to reset the defense and security partnership with the U.S. as he tries to strengthen ties with other European and Asian partners. He said he will increase Canadian defense spending to hit the NATO target of 2% of gross domestic product by 2030, ahead of Justin Trudeau's previously set schedule. Trump, however, wants NATO allies to spend 5% of GDP on defense. Premier Doug Ford has urged Carney to hit the 2% defense spending target faster, to drop the digital services tax. Why? Which hits US-based tech giants and remains a persistent irritant to Trump. So what? And to work on a broader energy and critical mineral strategy with the Trump administration. The Ontario official said the Americans, quote, do not have the critical minerals they need to power their economy. I think that's a real opportunity, whether it's critical minerals, potash, oil, or gas, to really emphasize Canada's strategic offering and finally be heard in a way Canada wasn't before, quote, because of the baggage of the Trudeau-Trump relationship. Side note on that, while the big rhetoric out there is that Trudeau and Trump hated each other, it seems that actually behind the scenes, they actually quite had a good time and enjoyed each other. It was all, again, for TV. Trump needed to taunt and tease the suave, debonair international celebrity. Yes. He was trying to set up Goliath against Goliath to elevate himself. That's all. So again, it's all about the frame with Trump. What do you have is cinematic, right? Big, grand, the music like this is, I'm going to change things. Come with me, I'll bring it home. Trump is the frame. How do I look? Is this the right light? Who's standing next to me? That's it's the frame. Give him the frame, the rest will take care of itself. He's got the minions to do the rest. Just give him the frame. So turns out that the Rosie wasn't all that much baggage. In a letter Monday to Carney, Ford pledged to work with the federal government and other provinces to make Canada more resilient to Trump's threats. He vowed to help Carney build new energy corridors for pipelines, rail lines, transmission lines, and other critical infrastructure necessary to get Canadian resources and energy to new and established refineries, as well as to new tidewater and beyond it, new markets. That will boost the Canadian economy, significantly reduce the existential risk and threat of any intervention by the United States, either at the state or federal level. And the long running legal dispute over the Line 5 pipeline that carries oil and natural gas liquids from Michigan to Sarnia for refining, Ford said it's critical, quote, to ensure we're able to power our future no matter what. And Ford set out a marker that as the Carney government works towards, quote, a renewed security and economic partnership, Ontario expects frequent, ongoing, and meaningful engagement by the federal government with all provinces and territories at all stages to ensure our core interests are reflected in any outcome. Well, I don't think you need to demand that. That would just be good business practice here. Public Safety Minister David McGuinty, International Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc, and Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly are accompanying Carney on the Washington trip, but no minister briefed reporters on Carney's goals or strategy for the meeting. That's deliberate to lower the temperature. Carney's team says it's not going to renegotiate the Canada-United States-Mexico trade agreement in the first meeting. Instead, the Prime Minister is going into the talks with the expectation that, quote, anything can happen, positive or negative, said one federal official, whom the Star agreed not to identify and who declined to discuss the trip further. That, says the Ontario official, is smart. Carney should not go in, quote, dug in that we are right on all of these things and they are wrong and then screw themselves, they said. Quote, that will only lead to more tension and more conflict. All right. So, any thoughts, Mr. Weaver?
Well, I'm just hoping it's not too much of a clown show today. The meeting in the Oval. Will it be televised live? Who knows? I imagine it would be. Are we going to see Trump try and strong arm Prime Minister Carney into accepting a deal? Is J.D. Vance going to ask him, why isn't he wearing a hockey sweater?
Oh, speaking of that, did you see Theo's?
Yes, Theo. Yeah. Yeah, Theo's
do they have
cartoon
it?
in it. I'll see if I can dig it up here.
Okay.
Hang on.
Yeah, that it's good. It's real good. All right. So we have the trip going on, right? What we can expect. There was, and we have a couple of clips of the moments of the disrespect that we'll be able to show you, kids and cubs. But we got a little bit of a surprise because in that last article we heard about Doug Ford, saying that he's willing to work with the federal government on certain things. Well, yesterday, and this is from JP Tasker from CBC, he says, in an interview with CBC News, Andrew Scheer, who was considered by party sources to be the frontrunner to serve as their interim parliamentary leader, said the Conservatives could back Carney if he needs legislative support to take on U.S. President Donald Trump and the ongoing trade war, which has already caused some economic dislocation, including automotive job losses at the General Motors plants in Oshawa. Quote, we're going to support measures that protect the Canadian economy and that help to ultimately get a deal. We wish Mr. Carney well, and we're rooting for a good deal for Canada, Scheer said. And when we're dealing with such a major threat to our economy, it's important that comes first and foremost, regardless of partisan differences. Who are you and what did you do with the Conservatives? Because I'm pretty sure, like this, I mean, I don't have it on good authority, and it's not like I got spies, but I have a feeling that all throughout the land, Conservatives are secretly hoping and gleefully praying that a Zelensky moment actually does happen this time around so that they can turn around and say, see, he ran on being the guy and he's not the guy. Because nothing would make him happier. But you're willing to help and you wish Carney. When is the last time you ever wished a prime minister that wasn't your own well? On anything. Like even after a cold. So, who are you guys? We're not buying this. We're not like we would buy like, a tempered down. Well, it's like he is a liberal, so we're not that sure about it like this, but we'll give him the benefit of the doubt and we'll see what happens. But not we wish Mr. Carney well. That's too big of a leap from where you were, guys.
Well,
it was just days ago that you were saying he was going to send the country to hell.
Did Pierre Poilievre thank the constituents of his former riding
Not
for
yet,
21 years of supporting him?
Not yet.
No, he immediately
Mr. Fanjoy
abandoned
on his
them.
not Mr. Fanjoy on his victory. No, he just dumped them.
Yeah, he immediately abandoned them and ran to the safest riding in the country, safest conservative riding in the country. However, there's some feedback coming out of that riding that they're not happy about.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, so let me see, the poorest riding in the province of Alberta, send me back to my mansion. My servants, my publicly paid housing and food, and
Oh, God.
So as the official opposition, the leader of the loyal opposition, nothing loyal from that man, so I hate to use that term, but as the leader of the opposition, he gets Stornoway, which is free housing, right? And he gets a chef and a butler and the whole thing. Now, if his riding is in Alberta and no longer in Ottawa, does that mean he gets a housing allowance on top of that? Because he really shouldn't. I mean, he's already living for free.
Good question.
I mean,
good question. Good question. Don't know at all on that one. So here, kids and cubs, we're going to have for you in a short succession 3 moments of disrespect. So this was, I believe, the first one that kicked it off a couple of days ago that prompted the questions that we talked about, I think, on yesterday's show to Prime Minister Carney when he did his press availability on Friday.
Do you plan to talk to him about making Canada a 51st state?
He wants to come and see me. He's going to come this week or next week.
So will you talk to him about making Canada a 51st state, annexing Canada?
I'll always talk about that. You know why? We subsidize Canada to the tune of $200 billion.
And then we went into it, yada, 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 yada. Because we all know the tune, right? It's like not subsidizing, buying stuff that they apparently don't need.
Yes, stuff you don't need, like oil.
Relationship.
What's your expectation for your meeting with the Canadian Prime Minister tomorrow?
I don't know. He's coming to see me. I'm not sure what he wants to see me about, but I guess he wants to make a deal. Everybody does.
Carney said his top priority will be to get U.S. tariffs off Canadian goods, something political leaders on both sides of the border are calling for.
Wow.
He doesn't know. That's what I mean. Like, it's like there's reading it, and then there's seeing him and hearing him saying it. If you're the leader of the most powerful nation on earth, why would you stand in front of a camera and say you have no idea why the leader of a G7 nation would be coming to meet you?
Because he's
especially when you sent the flares out to the world saying, hey, tariffs, 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 call me, let's make a deal. And no, I don't know why he wants to call. Maybe he wants to make a deal. I just oh fuck.
Some of that for you right now.
I think it's really complex. I think this is really complex because they have been basically feeding off of us for decades upon decades upon decades, right? They have their socialist regime, and it's basically feeding off of America. I mean, the president calls that out all the time. Why do we make cars in Canada? Why do we do our films in Canada? Come on. So I think the president's going to have, I think it's going to be a fascinating meeting. I'm glad I'm going to be there listening, but it's going to be a fascinating meeting tomorrow. I just don't see how it works out so perfectly.
But you're not going to bust up USMCA. That deadline is next year for the final review.
Correct. So next year is coming. So a lot of things are going to be put into
USMCA
that.
compliant, you're okay.
I think for now it's okay, but I think what you should expect to see is a real revisiting of U.S.
Wait. Revisit. Oh, okay. I'm glad I'm going to be in the room listening. Yeah, listening. Jeez. But you see again, the loudmouthy, big smile, yucking part of it.
Yeah.
It's just so greasy. It's just, it's literally greaseball politics. So that's what they're going. That's what. Here, kids and cubs. If you believe that our elected officials do not work hard for their money, we're sending a nice, decent, accomplished man who has 4 children and a very accomplished wife, who left a job where he could be paid a lot to take on a job of public service, who gets down with Webster and plays goalie in hockey. We're sending a nice man like that into a room full of those. He's earning his pay. Okay.
He took a massive pay cut in service of the nation.
Oh,
I mean, really, it's what he's done.
Nobody should have to go into a room like that ever for any circumstance.
No.
Okay? It's like, just, I get the heebie-jeebies just thinking about it. And if they have like this another fireplace thing, that there's going to be just him in the room, right? With 15 other people. It's going to be another one of these gang up type things, right? So, I mean, I would love, don't get me wrong. It's like, the dramatic and queen in me would love to see Mr. Carney, if that happens, just stand up and says, well, President Trump, this has been a great slice. The most beautiful slice we ever saw with 2 scoops. But I think that the level of respect that we had agreed upon is not being met here. And thus, I will take my leave. I will not say if you will excuse me, because I'm taking my leave anyway. But I will take my leave. And when you are done performing here and would like to talk, call me. But, of course, that will not happen.
No. Goodness, no.
But things we would love to see. or just like Joe Biden in that debate. Will you just shut up, man?
Just shut up, man.
Shut up, man. I mean, again, PhD, economist, central banker for 2 banks, sitting in the room with the guy who can only run his mouth, pretending he knows more about the subject you got a PhD in than you. And you have to be diplomatic and maintain grace and poise when all you want to do is reach out and touch someone. Reach out, touch them.
Was that a Coke commercial or a phone commercial?
I think it was Bell, wasn't it?
Long distance?
Back in the day, Bell long distance.
Yeah.
So, God.
Yeah, it was long distance. Yeah. Back when that was a thing. Remember long distance phone calls?
Yes. Back when that was
now I call my friend on my phone via WhatsApp, FaceTiming with somebody in Switzerland. And what does it cost me? Whatever my monthly phone bill is. That's it.
Isn't it great? Now, kits and cubs, we have a bit of a treat for you here, because it's a good friend, Mr. Flavio Volpe.
Yes, I have it queued up and ready to go.
There we go. A lot of these things I've touched upon. Some of the things they were things I believed already, but I kind of stole from him as well. So the things in the setup. So you'll hear some things that I've said. Again, this guy has been in so many rooms next door for so long, number one, and two, has done so many interviews on this thing, like so many interviews on this thing, and is on the Prime Minister's Canada-US Council's advisory board, along with people like Rachel Notley is on that too, and one of the former president of the Canadian Labour of Congress, and it's a very prestigious blue ribbon panel there. He's seen it all, right? So again, this interview is from the perspective. I don't want to say he's jaded. He's not jaded, but it's like he's not impressed by any of the stuff that Trump is doing. Right? Let's have it.
In Washington. Well, ahead of Carney and Trump's meeting tomorrow, the stakes continue to rise for Canadian workers. On Friday, Unifor said this GM plant in Oshawa will be cutting an entire shift because of Trump's tariffs. The union says about 750 workers will be directly laid off and that over 1,500 more workers will be impacted elsewhere in the supply chain. Flavio Volpe is the president of the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association. He's also a member of the Prime Minister's Council on Canada-US Relations. Hey there, Flavio. You heard about all the re's from Katie, restore, redirect, and Aretha's favorite, R-E-S-P-E-C-T, respect. You think Canada is going to get any in this visit tomorrow?
Well, we can't control how the president and his team behave. And that's really important. We can only control how we respond. They're TV people. Even the Zelensky meeting was a TV moment for them. And, they've had other moments there. I think what's more important is what happens in the meeting beforehand. I expect that the Prime Minister and his team will be prepared to bring a few items to the table that are mutually beneficial, perhaps drawing on what the Americans do actually need from us. They need energy products from us. They need critical minerals. They need a full defense partner. And so I imagine that conversation is going to be substantive. I would like to see that we come out with some type of formal arrangement for where we negotiate. In the Trump 1.0 that Brian Clow talked to Katie about, and Brian was a central figure there. We had negotiating tables and we had a schedule, and we were able to counter their proposals and present our positions. We don't have that right now. If there's some drama in the Oval Office, I think what I've been counseling everybody is they're always so revealing of the president and his team. We should watch. We should learn from it. But that's not the meeting. The meeting is the one beforehand.
There's a lot to, unpack there, Flavio. When you talk about the expectations of sort of setting out a path going forward, that is the gold standard for you coming out of this. If Mark Carney comes out and says, well, we've come to an agreement that's starting in 60 days, 30 days, however many days our negotiators are going to get around the same table, that's what a win looks like?
Well, I'll give you an example. Last week, Customs and Border Patrol put out an update that said, in fact, Canadian auto parts will be treated as USMCA compliant, which will not have a tariff on them. Dozens of us did hundreds of meetings and thousands of interviews to get the math out there to say, look, in the U.S. interest, if you target Canadian auto parts, then you're going to shut down the industry. Stakeholders in the U.S. stood up and spoke up to the White House. We did that all without a negotiating table. You can get small victories and temporary victories, but we're talking about those tariffs are a full treatment of our entire economy. They are different layers of tariffs, but they're all being put out on a whim in the Rose Garden or on Truth Social. And I think it would be an important move for Canada to be able to acquire some type of formal place to, at the very least, counter-propose. Right now, the president prefers this way. He has all the leverage. He does this bilaterally, and then he tries to divide. I think it would be a good signal also by the White House that they're serious about doing deals with their closest allies, even if they're trying to advantage their position in it. If what they get from Canada in terms of relationship and a response from Prime Minister Carney is going to inform how they deal with Europe, Japan, and South Korea, So there is something really to be gained by President Trump and his team in having a good meeting with Prime Minister Carney and our team.
I wonder to what extent, because of course you've got such an interesting line of sight into this, to what extent do you think we know at this point how much of the tension between Trump and Canada was actually personal? How much of it was about Justin Trudeau and belittling him, calling him governor, that Trump liked to sort of, whether he liked him or not, because you certainly hear from some Liberals and people in Justin Trudeau's PMO that they got along just fine, but that Trump sort of wanted to overshadow our previous Prime Minister?
Well, I think when they met in the first term, and he had never served in government before, and he saw this kind of world famous, charming Canadian Prime Minister who was in the middle of his first majority and had a whole bunch of political equity. He's trying to figure out how this guy with his background is, a G7 leader, and what does it take to get there, and how does he have all this international equity and popularity. And then as he met him the second time, he said, well, now I know government, and now I feel bulletproof, and I feel like I'm better and more powerful than you. And we saw Trump, the real estate developer who's famous for renegotiating his negotiations and stiffing his suppliers and saying, I may actually like Justin Trudeau, but I'm a TV guy. And if I can bully him, I can show everybody else that. So he started down this 51st state path. We might even hear this tomorrow. It won't be a reflection of the relationship between Trump and Carney. It'll be a reflection, I think, in part, on whether he thinks he still has some leverage over us from a political anxiety point of view. I do think a lot of it was personal. But I do think Carney is an internationally acclaimed financial expert. I don't think they're used to seeing those in these types of meetings.
So what is the best thing in your mind that the Prime Minister can do if Donald Trump starts behaving in a belittling fashion, not so much towards him, but towards Canada, and says, well, you should just be a state, and really sort of gets on his soapbox? Is the right thing to do when you talk about being calm, cool, and collected? Is it just to sit back and not antagonize him, or is it important for Canadians to hear our Prime Minister be a bit perhaps not antagonistic, but firm in the face of something like that?
I think the latter is what we're all expecting. I don't want to see him in having an argument with him if he starts an argument. I've never been in a negotiation with the person with the leverage is the one who's yelling. And I think normal people understand that. But Emmanuel Macron handled the president's untruths a few times, interjecting respectfully, saying, oh, by the way, no, we did pay our way. We are investing heavily in the Russia-Ukraine war, and I think there's a way to do that. But I also think to meet Mark Carney is to understand that he's got a self-effacing sense of humor that comes from the confidence of having been around the table with world leaders for the longest time. I think right now he's the right person for this meeting. I think that sense of cool also helps to dictate what that room looks like.
Yeah, so be Macron, don't be Zelensky, certainly. You give this advice, be calm, be cool. And I wonder for you, Flavio, when you...
I need to interrupt there for a second. What she said, I understand, but it's not really fair to say that. Remember, Zelensky was speaking a language that is not his best or his first.
Right.
So, and again, Ukrainian, along with Russian, is a rather strong, abrupt spoken language.
Yes, but
so
also
when you translate to English, you're going to come off as strong, abrupt, forceful, because that's the kind of language you're used to speaking.
Yeah, but it's like, be Macron, don't be Zelensky. It's like Zelensky was made to be something as well, right? He didn't have much choice. I mean, he had choice about his reaction and whatnot, like this, but what was going on in that room was kind of surprise imposed on him.
Yes. So, I like her. She's good. She's very good at her job. I just, that particular comment, I was like, But, we're all entitled to our own opinion.
See firsthand how many workers' jobs are on the line. Do you feel calm and cool in the lead up to this, or is there a sense of precarity? Are you nervous about what might happen tomorrow?
Well, Catherine, I think you've seen me do interviews and seen me speak publicly. I always have the same tone and posture. The math doesn't work for the Americans to target the Canadian auto sector and survive. He will bankrupt one of the American automakers before he gets a victory, and we know that. And so part of that is being calm. He's picked a fight with the rest of the world and with so many domestic adversaries in all aspects of American life. His position isn't going to get stronger from here. He's going to need allies. He's going to need to climb down with the types of allies that can deliver American victories. Canada is uniquely positioned to do that. Americans are so heavily invested here and heavily invested in our spending there that if he made a deal with Canada first, then he could demonstrate that a whole bunch of those metrics that are going to go off the charts, the bond market, the confidence in the US dollar, spending in tourism, all those things, we can help with that. And so I'd still remain calm. You know, if I was in that meeting and he was yelling at me, I would have this face, because in the end, one of his predecessors says best to walk softly and carry a big stick. There's no point in arguing with him on TV. If we have the leverage that we think we have, let it play out.
Let me just ask you in closing, we talked off the top about people losing their jobs in Oshawa over this. And I think, and you mentioned the sort of back and forth we've had, the changes to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, exempting auto parts that are CUSMA compliant. Just pull out for folks who have not followed those ups and downs. What would you say is the current state of Canada's auto sector in the face of these threats? We knew that this could be catastrophic. We haven't seen a worst case scenario yet. How bad is it?
Well, the worst case scenario would have been an auto parts tariff. It would have shut down production like the Ambassador Bridge blockade did and the pandemic did. The scenario is workers are anxious across this country. They go on shifts. They don't take their phones with them. They're not looking at CBC through the day. They come off shift wondering if something's changed. Suppliers, Canadian companies who supply parts on both sides of the border are worried that the auto companies who are still subject to a tariff will reduce production like we saw in Oshawa. It's not a good moment for peace and tranquility. People that rely on these jobs and have relied as families on these jobs for generations know that if an auto company pulls out of a town, it doesn't come back. Those types of jobs that feed kids and pay the mortgage are really important. But they also, I think, watch out for leaders like us who say, okay, what's your mood? Are you despondent? Are you taking the fight, the math, to the Americans and to the American media and to partners? Are you ready to take on, as we are, the U.S. government in court on Section 232 national security tariffs on parts? I hope they hear from people like me and some of the others like Lana Payne or Brian Kingston that if this ship goes down, I'll go down with it. So don't worry if you hear your representatives or your leaders yelling or not. I'm in it 24 hours a day. I have been since November 5th.
Well, message received. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Once again, Flavio hitting home runs, because I think that's all the man knows how to do.
I know.
Of course, there was a double entendre there, because remember he talked about it being at a Blue Jays game, and
Yes.
you got it was a bit of a stretch on my part, but I knew you'd get it.
Yeah. The thing is, like I mentioned a lot of these things in the chatter before, but it's a lot of people are going to be, let me put it this way. Prime Minister Carney is going to come out of that meeting, and then the press is going to do its thing. Right? He didn't get anything accomplished. He didn't win anything. It was a failure. It was this, it was that, or whatever it is. And then we always have to remember it could be another G7 thing, right? Where they sit side by side and Trump and him say nice things, and then Carney gets on the plane and goes, "He was a bad bastard to me," right? Behind his back. Right?
I saw a comment earlier today. What has Carney done? You mean in the 9 days he's
Yeah, that's what I mean,
Wow.
and it'll be something like that too, right? You know, it's most,
Well, he did more in his short stint as PM before calling the election than Pierre Poilievre did in 21 years in
Oh yeah,
Parliament.
exactly. Yeah. But like for example, the housing thing, the whole prefab thing, he's got to build the industry and whatnot like this. Well, they'll be like 6 months later. Well, not one house built, not one prefab house built yet. Guess you failed. So, so I mean, you got to expect this, right, from this group, particularly because there wasn't a majority, and Pierre is just basically essentially being parachuted back into a seat. So the expectation here is that they are going to learn nothing, and from the tone we're seeing so far, they're learning nothing, while claiming they need to grow and learn. But the tone that we're seeing is that they're learning nothing here. So you know, I just want our audience, and I would like this to be common for all Canadians, just to be very clear that, there should be no expectations of a concession in this one. If Trump decides to make a big circus and say, well, why didn't we stand up to him? Why didn't we smack that? It's the thing that feels good for 5 seconds now, but then gives Trump a license to come back for the next 3 years. You said this about me once. Now I'm going to punish you forever. I'm just is probably not a win. So,
The long knives are out already.
but if like Trump does one of those things and Carney just sits there and
Yeah.
like this, he was so weak. It's like, no, he was unbothered.
There's a difference.
There's a difference.
Well, I'm seeing posts online like every right-leaning, and I'm not going to say conservative, but every right-leaning individual who is angry about our new prime minister is really gone off the deep end. Because I know a lot of progressive conservatives that voted Liberal in this election for very obvious reasons. A lot of people who are dyed-in-the-wool orange, lifelong NDP supporters voted Liberal in this election because they knew what was at stake. So there, like I said earlier, somebody says, "What has he done?" Well, actually, more than Poilievre has in 21 years in Parliament. Number one. Number two, they're already picking on Mark Carney. Just posted he landed in D.C. We don't care about video of you landing or walking off a plane. This isn't a travel vlog. Canadians want results, not airport photo ops. Let's see what you actually deliver tomorrow.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm thinking back to a couple of days ago on the campaign when Juan Pierron and Evita were at the top of the big Pierre Poilievre airplane waving.
Well, the first one of the best comment, if you don't care about videos of him landing, walking off a plane, why did you post a video of him landing, walking off a plane?
Again.
I don't like this show. I'm leaving. It's not an airport. You don't have to announce when you're departing.
Yeah. Just leave. The show's not going to be for everybody. I mean, we would like it. We would love it if everybody liked this, but that wasn't our expectation going in.
No.
So, I mean, we're not disappointed. I mean, we're disappointed that you didn't find what you were looking for here. But
even the folks who hate us, you're welcome to join us. And maybe if you come in with an open mind, you might learn something. And we have open minds, so you could possibly teach us something too.
Yeah,
we are open to learning.
And just because we don't agree on this type of stuff doesn't mean you can't have really cool discussions with the damn fam about other stuff.
Exactly. If you come in here civil with an open mind, you're willing to have a conversation, you present a cogent argument, and you have facts to back up what you state, you are absolutely welcome to engage with us.
Yeah.
But if you come in and try and troll and you just yell and scream stupid stuff,
yep.
The God of our channel will wrench you out of here.
Yeah, exactly. God's a woman.
Yes.
So just so you know. But the whole thing here is you want to be able to move from I'm right to I'm right, you're wrong, to this is what I think and this is what I believe and this is why I believe it. Oh, that's what you believe and why you believe it. I don't see things your way, but I can understand how someone could believe what you believe. Because it makes sense. It's just not true for me. There are things that can be true for you that are true, that are not true for me. And then there are things that are true and things that are just bullshit.
Yeah.
It's like you can have different beliefs that are cogent and coherent and stand and are reasonable. And there's plenty of exchange. Oh, I believe. Oh, well, this is why I believe. Oh, that's interesting. Why do you believe that? Oh, well, that's cool. Why do you believe that? And you don't have to agree. And you can just come up with a bigger understanding. And then there's, I believe this. Well, I believe the earth is flat. Well, thank you for the conversation.
Facts will argue with that. We're not going to engage you. We're not engaging with people like that.
It's like, thank you for
the earth is flat. Have a nice day. I'm sorry, I have better things to think about. And having a conversation with somebody who is convinced that the earth is flat is not anywhere on any level anything I ever want to do, period.
And it's about as useful as astronomy courses to earthworms. As we say in French, c'est de l'enculage de mouche.
Well, it's whenever I encounter somebody that say, by the way, I'm a libertarian, I'm like, have a nice day, because the conversation is over. I am not going to speak with you anymore about politics. You are wasting my time. Libertarians are a waste of my time. They're fundamentally like house cats. Well, they believe they are the master of the domain and in charge of everything. Well, they rely upon a system they know nothing about. I don't dislike libertarians. I have no use for them. In that, you can talk to me about hockey or movies or music or football or sport. That's great. But if you want to talk politics and you tell me you're a libertarian, I'm not having the conversation with you. I would get a better response from a brick wall or this coffee mug. Because you literally do not understand how anything works. Libertarians are just, I have no use for them. I have no use for that type of politics because it's foolish. It's absolutely ridiculous. Everybody should be able to pull themselves up by their book.
I mean, there are elements of libertarianism. Again, it's like everything gone too far, right? I mean, I'm rainbow.
Yeah.
I'm very libertarian on certain things.
Oh, yeah.
Marry who you marry, love who you love. So like just, keep your nose out of my marriage, keep your nose out of my bedroom.
Is that libertarian, or is that just a fundamental belief that humans have the same rights that we should all have?
But it's on the libertarian side.
Love who you love. Yeah,
love who you love, right? Like, it's like, don't tell me what race I can marry, what religion I can marry, what gender I can marry. Don't tell me that I can't be a cisgendered person and in love with a transgendered person. Don't tell me, like, it's just, don't tell me I can be, at 40, I'm too old to marry someone who's 32. Don't just keep your nose out of my fucking business.
Well, I recently
live and let live, right? There's a libertarian concept to that. But again, libertarianism pushed too far. Capitalism pushed too far.
Exactly.
Socialism pushed too far.
Well, I recently got dressed down by someone for referring to them as cisgendered, and they're like, "I hate it when you call me that." I'm like, "But it's what you are. It's a scientific term. I am cisgendered. I identify with the sex and gender I've had since birth. I'm a man. I identify as male. That is cisgender. It's a scientific. You can look it up if you want. I'm not. When I got that statement, it's like I'm not speaking to this person anymore because they've gone off the deep end of the conspiracy theory, right wing nut job, echo chamber, bias confirmation. That's it. We're done. We're done.
That's one way to put it, or you could just say it's a bad faith conversation.
Well, that too. But it's like I'm walking away. Walking away.
It's either bad faith from the person, or if the person truly sincerely believes it.
And this person does. They sincerely believe it.
That's what I mean. So if the person doesn't really sincerely believe it, and they're just saying it's a bad faith conversation, if they do sincerely believe it, it's a conversation that is based on something that is not true. Both of them are mindless exercises.
Well, and here's one here that's like, try calling people a colonizer. Boomers will bristle. I don't like being called a colonizer, and I'll tell you why. I don't own shit. I'm in a rent-controlled building, and I'm unemployed. What have I colonized? I was born here. I didn't have any say in that. I get it. I was born on somebody else's land, but again, I had no say in that. You can call me a settler. Don't call me a colonizer. There's a tremendous difference between the two. I haven't colonized anything.
Right. Again, words have definitions, and a lot of people use them sloppily. right? A lot of people use it without care. There we go.
There we go
Cis.
from Mr. Jim.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Grizzly.
Cis, the prefix cis comes from Latin and means on the side of. In the context of gender, it indicates that a person's gender identity is on the same side as their assigned sex.
There you go. That's it.
That's the end
Big
of
fancy word to mean just that. I mean, jeez. All right. So we've got all the stuff here. Carney's going. Let's temper our expectations. What success is going to be. Let's not be surprised if Trump talks about 51st state or tries to make a spectacle or a scene. That's fine. If we get, don't be surprised if everything seems to go well and like 3 hours later, then Trump has like some buyer's remorse and says something weird. These are all things that we've seen before, right?
Mhm.
What's going to matter, one, is our readout of the visit more than the US's, because the US's will be for domestic consumption. Ours is for our domestic consumption. So let's look to ours first. That's another thing that media will do, and especially the sycophants. They'll look at the US one and go, see, the United States said, oh my God, we're so terrible. Yeah, but what about what we say?
Yeah. I gotta go in a minute, but I wanted to. Oh yeah, I'm from PNC Bio too. Cis is a prefix very common in chemistry as well.
Yes.
That's correct. I just wanted to share an image of somebody who is very proud of himself and standing on the hill flying a flag, and then I'm going to go. Like,
Eh.
really, seriously, this
Congratulations. Congratulations, digital is forever. I hope you're proud.
Yeah.
I have no time for this. I have no patience for this anymore.
No,
I just
no. It's just I'm done with this. And yesterday I saw somebody who is on the Twitter promoting their company. They got a new Twitter feed for their company, and then he went on to post some really outlandish right wing, bizarre stuff. I'm like, I don't think you know how this works. You're promoting agricultural businesses. You're an agribusiness, but you're spouting off right-wing political talking points that aren't even based in reality.
You might want to have two Twitter feeds, one for your political talking points and one for your business. Never the twain shall meet.
Yeah.
PR 101.
They don't connect. I don't post anything political on LinkedIn ever.
Yes. PR 101.
It's real simple. And you can compartmentalize your life like that. So your social media life.
Yes.
This is where I come to talk about politics, and occasionally on Facebook. During the election, I talked about politics a lot. Most of the time, the only politics talk I have on Facebook is the feed of this show that shows up there. Mm-hmm. Twitter, I talk on politics a lot. Blue Sky, not a lot, because thankfully, there's just some nice people in there who want to talk about cookie recipes and and rebuilding cars and the sports team victory they had.
How we missed that.
That's how it started.
That's what it's supposed to be. Just people talking. Just talking. Sharing. Being people. People who need people are the loveliest people. I know I changed the words there.
Well, I don't know if you're going to dive into Danielle Smith. And her,
yep.
Albertans seeking separation from Canada are not fringe voices to be marginalized or vilified, but rather they are loyal Albertans.
Big deal. Are they loyal Canadians?
Well, and then there's another 25% of Albertans identify with separation and Trump. So 75% don't. That's the news.
Yes, but let's spend all this time catering to the 25% who do, because you're worried that they might be considered fringe or marginalized.
Province over country, right? Me. Shut up. Canada first, right? Province last, if at all.
Hey,
look, I live in Ontario. Yeah, so what?
Hold on a second. I'll be right back.
Okay. And I live in Ontario. So what? I'll just pull your camera down there for a minute so we don't get any bad noise in the background while you're getting adjusted. I live in Ontario. So what? Yes, it's the economic heartbeat of this country. Like it or not, it is. $1.3 trillion in GDP for the province of Ontario versus Albertans' $300 billion. There's a tremendous difference between the two. Does that make a difference in my life? No, I'm unemployed. And I'm broke as shit. And I'm not getting younger. And there's not a lot of job opportunities being put my way. It's kind of dark right now. So what part of the country I live in is not going to fix my problem?
Mm-hmm.
I need a job. It's as simple as that. And one that allows me to work behind a computer because I cannot do the construction work I used to do.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be on my feet 12 hours a day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I can't be bending, lifting. I can't do it anymore.
Yep. You need a job, and Danielle needs a distraction.
Yep. And on that note, I gotta go. I'll see you later. Thanks for coming out, folks. We really do appreciate each and every one of you. I don't have any words of wisdom other than try and smile and enjoy the day as best you can, because today's going to be very, very strange.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be very strange. Now, before we move off to Danielle, get some cubs, Charlie Angus had a couple thoughts that he thought we should hear with regard to what's going on here. Yeah, it's a reality check. Now, I think most of us pretty much already suspected this anyway, but here we go. I know what you were thinking. The election is over. Canada will negotiate a new deal with Trump and life will return to normal. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's not how it's going to play out. In a world of gangster leaders like Trump and Putin, Canada's repudiation of the MAGA March just won't stand. The authoritarian anti-democratic project has been years in the making. It's been driven by the likes of Bannon and Hungary's Viktor Orban, and they aren't going to let Canada stand tall as a model of liberal democracy. The online platforms that are already the online platforms are already gearing up with bot farms disrupting online conversations. It's all about undermining both Carney and Canada. On the domestic front, there's no way the Conservatives will give Carney the grace period needed to build trust with the public. The Maple MAGA machine will do everything it can do to undermine Carney. Just watch. And then there's the troll-in-chief, Danielle Smith. Since the election of Trump, she has been sowing the weeds that will sprout into a full-on national unity crisis even as our nation faces an unprecedented threat to our existence. Since the Monday night election, people have been reaching out to me with concerns about what they're seeing online. Facebook is a swamp of vicious memes, mysterious front groups, and fake accounts attacking the Prime Minister, ridiculing the elbows up spirit, and pushing regional discord. Take, for example, a woman who contacted me because she was sick to her stomach after online, quote, news that Prime Minister Mark Carney had been an accomplice of the notorious abuser Jeffrey Epstein. I tried to explain to her that deepfake photos are circulating over the internet that spread this kind of disruptive hate, but the fact is, these smears don't just bubble up in the swamp farm of offshore bots. This ugly claim was promoted on the side of a truck in the national capital by Rebel News. Yes, the same crew invited by the debate commission to dominate the post-debate media scrum with leaders. Carney will have his work cut out for him in Parliament. In the last Parliament, the Conservatives shut down all government work. Month after month, they monkey-wrenched committees and the work of the House of Commons. It was all about proving that Canada is broken. The only thing that will slow down these tactics in the new Parliament is that rage king Pierre Poilievre lost his seat. LOL. This will give Carney some small breathing room, but not much. Already, Poilievre's team are engineering a forced by-election by getting a sitting Conservative to give up their seat for Poilievre. If Carney were smart, he would let Poilievre cool his heels for as long as possible. But with Poilievre on the sidelines, Alberta's troll queen, Danielle Smith, will take up the charge. She has been working full out to tie Carney's election victory to a crisis over national unity. The Maple MAGA forces in Western Canada look at the threat to our nation from Trump and see opportunity. They see like-minded ideologies. Just check out the Facebook site entitled Make Alberta Great Again, a perfect case of copycat astroturfing grievance. One of their memes shows a young woman on the road in the dark. The message reads, "When you are leaving an abusive relationship, you aren't a traitor, and neither is Alberta." Okay. The Abuse in this case is laid out in Smith's list of demands. Top of the list is insisting that Prime Minister Carney scrap the clean fuel regulations, which will lower CO2 emissions from vehicles. That's like threatening to break up the country over getting rid of leaded gasoline. It may be the lamest reason ever for breaking up a nation, but such, quote, grievance won't be limited to the margins of Facebook. It will be promoted in the Calgary/Edmonton newspaper boardrooms and the US-owned National Post media empire. And mainstream media are loving the story of Alberta separatists, even though former Conservative leader Jason Kenney says they don't have the votes to elect a dog catcher in Alberta. No matter. They will attempt to inflict maximum disruption as Carney tries to establish a unified front to negotiate with the menace in Washington. So, who wins? Certainly, Canada's big oil industry is looking to score big. Their front groups and politicians have already sold the mainstream media on the pitch that spending massive amounts of public money on increasing oil production and building pipelines is an issue of national unity, even as the planet burns. Justin Trudeau tried to placate this group. He paid $34 billion to build a pipeline at a time of record oil profits. He oversaw the largest increase in oil production in Canada's history. It only made him more hated and more subject to the bogus Alberta getting screwed by Canada again argument of the right. But the others looking to win in this destabilization campaign will be the shadow backers of the gangster regimes, Trump and Putin. Canada is no stranger to Russian disinformation. In 2019, the Calgary Herald reported that Russian disinformation teams were promoting the Alberta separatist movement. In testimony, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau stated that security agencies found Russia directly funded the prominent American provocateur Tucker Carlson. Following Carlson's public comments about invading Canada, Premier Smith joined Carlson on stage in Calgary. Right after his fawning interview with Smith, he flew to Moscow for an even more ingratiating interview with the dictator Putin. All peas in a pod. Then there was the convoy uprising that Pierre Poilievre and his MPs heavily backed. The nation's capital was occupied for weeks by groups demanding the overthrow of a duly elected government. In 2022, the United States Congress launched an investigation into the huge role played by online Russian disinformation in fanning the flames that drove the occupation of our nation's capital. In the MAGA world, it is unacceptable that Canada is seen as a symbol of the resilience of liberal democracy. In the coming months, it will not just be the new Prime Minister who was put to the test. Canada, our shared values, and nationhood will be tested as well. I know we will rise to the challenge, but only if we can identify the toxic playbook being used by Maple MAGA and the far right. And to that end, that was a Charlie Angus writing. Get some cubs there. Yes, good pen. He has a pretty good pen, I have to say. Like his writing style. So we know that for the federal Conservatives, and again, they're setting the tone based on the interviews that we've seen on Power and Politics with not so much Don Tremont, but a little bit Giovanni, Scott Aitchison, Andrew Scheer, with some on Power and Politics as well. Seen Pierre's new video and all that type of stuff, and especially seeing the videos by Michael Barrett. He hasn't changed a bit. That the Conservative MO is business as usual. Just keep on doing what we're doing, stronger and louder, more of it, maybe in all caps this time. It will work. The loss of a seat and the loss in this election is merely going to be a speed bump for them in their worldview. So we, if anybody, any of us were expecting a little peace and quiet from having, issued a loss and Pierre having lost his seat, well, of course, that is not to be, because Conservatives are such that we cannot have nice things like a parliament without Poilievre in it. So they're going to impose that on us, even though we rejected it, and we'll see how it works for them. But yes, they are going to, I have a feeling, just continue doing the exact same thing. They have to be a little helpful, because some of the things Mr. Carney had the wisdom to say, and he started off his press conference like that on Friday, that even though he won, he did hear that for people who didn't vote for him, issues related to crime and affordability were very important, and he's going to put them on his agenda too, and start addressing them. So there are going to be a lot of things. And again, if he's strategic, what he's going to do in the first parliament are probably going to be all things that conservatives want some movement on anyway. So he's going to try and build that, and that will be fine. But with the conservatives, at some point when the low-hanging fruit that they also agree on is going to be picked, then it will be a situation of them, essentially obstructing everything as much as possible. And in this case, unlike last time, we hope that there are members of the opposition parties, the other ones, who will not be so passive in allowing that to happen if it does. Now, all of this, of course, any action the Conservatives can take are tempered by the fact that, one, we're not going into an election soon because the NDP has no leader and probably no money. The NDP situation is made even worse by the fact that there is this rule from Elections Canada that if a candidate in a riding gets at least 10% of the vote, they have their expenses, election expenses covered. Well, the NDP didn't even get 10% of the vote nationally. So out of all the ridings in which they ran, there's going to be very few of them in which they're going to be getting that refund. That's all money that's just gone, that they have to raise again from scratch if they want to fund another election. So the not getting party status hurt them financially in many, many, many ways, not just not getting certain funding to be able to do certain work. And then we have the Bloc Québécois, who's basically already gone on the record without having asked anything in return, really saying that they're offering a truce until around the midterms. So, and Poliev is not going to be back in Parliament until sometime in the fall. So there's that as well for him. So there's certain realities that means that they can take a bit of a pause and a bit of a breather from hammering us over the head 24/7 with it's terrible, it's terrible, it's terrible, and because they don't really have any options to act on them. But if there's one thing that the Conservatives are known for, it's for framing the other guy, creating the frame on how the other guy is supposed to be perceived. So that will probably be the exercise for the next few months from the Conservatives, and in as many cases as possible, trying to be unhelpful without stepping on their own message for the things that they have said are important. In this article that we just read, of course, we're talking a lot about Danielle Smith, and yesterday she did something really interesting. She had a live stream of an announcement that she did live. A live stream of an announcement that she did live, of course. It wasn't a pre-recorded thing like last time. So it was actually live streamed, but she did it alone in a room somewhere so that she couldn't be asked questions. So what she did is that she put this thing out there that will stand there at least for a whole day. That's just her message before there's any video of her being asked an inconvenient question by someone of the press, just to get time for her message to sink in a lot more, which is again not illegal, but particularly underhanded, because I mean, if you do believe in your message, why wouldn't you want to expose yourself to scrutiny? Why would you need 24 hours for the message to sink into other people and maybe it being confirmed by many other echo chambers before journalists get a chance to maybe pick it apart? Yeah, because you're confident, right? Look, Danielle Smith has a lot of problems going on. There's the whole AHS thing, Alberta Health Services, the fact that certain contracts were written in such a way that seemed to indicate that the prices for services were being determined by the party and not by the market. There is an open RCMP investigation into those matters and court case. There's some litigation. As reported on a previous show, the Alberta government has seemed to make a big deal about the litigation because it's hired not one but two law firms to throw, basically try to bury Athana Metsalopoulos in legal fees so badly that she can't bring the case to court in the first place. So right now, we are talking about a government that is literally throwing the full weight of the state against a private citizen in Alberta. That is very scary. That is very dangerous, and people should be rising up a little more about that. Now, there is a group, Alberta Resistance, that has been organizing around that. We talked to you the other day about a big event that they had last Wednesday with a whole bunch of very prominent people stating that this should not be done by the UCP and promoting a GoFundMe for the former CEO of Alberta Healthcare Services to raise money for her legal fees. And I will, if you go to GoFundMe and look for Medicine Hat Grassroots Group for Integrity and Justice, that will help you find it. And their goal was $100,000. This was started, does it say how many days ago? Just taking a look here on the day. I can't see a date on it. But it has received 998 donations so far and has raised 68,345. So about 68% of the goal there, created 6 days ago. So in 6 days. So it's getting it's doing well. It's doing well. Hopefully, more people will contribute to it, and that's very important that we do that because federal government, a government, provincial, federal, whatnot, deciding that it is throwing the full resources of the people. We're all paying. You're paying for this, Alberta, against a private citizen to keep them from speaking truth to power, for keep them from availing themselves of their legal rights to go to court and contest a decision that they feel is unfair. That's, you want to talk fascism? Again, look at the home team here. This is not something that should be done here. So she's got a lot of problems. Also, she lost a member of cabinet, Mr. Peter Guthrie, who is now standing up in the House of Commons in the legislature and releasing letters and making statements that are very inconvenient for the Premier and for Adriana Lagrange in particular. Remember that when he left, how would I put it? When he left caucus to sit as an independent, he was suggesting that the lack of discipline, fiscal discipline, with all that kind of stuff that was going on with the contracts for long-term care, I believe it is, that type of lack of care and thoroughness might be prevalent or apparent or present in other realms. So on April 23rd, 2025, he wrote, "Good afternoon. It has been my distinct honor and privilege to serve the people of Airdrie Cochrane as UCP MLA. When I first sought the nomination, I was filled with hope for our newly unified party and a belief that we could form a government grounded in core conservative principles, one that would rebuild public trust through integrity and responsible leadership. Regrettably, under Premier Smith, the UCP has morphed into a party with a number of objectives that I opposed internally and can no longer in good conscience support. Competent, honest government has taken a backseat to political maneuverings that jeopardize the best interest of Albertans. In my opinion, key conservative principles are openness, transparency, good governance, and fiscal responsibility. Yet, these ideals have been abandoned by the Premier in her handling of serious allegations facing the Department of Health. Staff operating in a toxic environment fear sharing potentially critical information that could be vital to uncovering the truth. As the RCMP and the Auditor General investigate the case, the Premier staunchly refuses to be transparent and initiate a judicial review, the very thing required to restore public confidence through a formal legal judgment. I felt compelled to ask why she remains firm in this stance, which, in my view, cannot be defended or supported." The government's commissioned investigation led by an out-of-province judge with no legal authority in Alberta is unlikely to earn public trust. Judge Wyant, no doubt a well-respected professional, is nevertheless limited by a narrow mandate designed to deflect criticism rather than uncovering the truth. I made it clear to caucus that this review resembles a classic, quote, whitewash report, seemingly designed to conceal wrongdoing rather than expose it, an approach that risks triggering serious accusations of a cover-up. The scope of the investigation is confined to reviewing legislation, regulations, and procurement policies within government agencies and lacks the mechanisms necessary to pursue accountability. Witnesses are not compelled to testify, and any information provided is tightly controlled by the government officials. A number of key personnel and senior staff within AHS have already been dismissed, further hampering the credibility of the inquiry. Given these limitations, it is critical that we rely on independent bodies, namely the Auditor General and the RCMP, to carry out thorough investigations. Only through their work can Albertans hope to receive a trustworthy and transparent outcome. In addition to these concerns, I've also highlighted the troubling lack of fiscal accountability within Executive Council, an issue my now independent colleague MLA Scott Sinclair has also raised. Under Premier Smith, the UCP government has increased its operational budget by more than 24%, including a 14% expansion in the size of the GOA. This erosion of fiscal discipline, combined with the creation of multiple new Crown corporations, has contributed to a projected deficit of $4.4 billion. While Conservatives may hold diverse views on many issues, fiscal responsibility remains a core principle encompassing balanced budgets, limited government, reduced debt, and lower taxes. To its credit, the UCP delivered on their promise of a tax cut, which I supported as a way to ease the burden on Albertans facing rising inflation. However, this action alone does little to offset a broader lack of fiscal discipline. In Alberta, we are quick to criticize the federal government for its unsustainable spending, ballooning debt, and inflationary impact on families and communities. We cannot in good faith denounce that approach in Ottawa while turning a blind eye to similar issues here at home. Oops, pardon me. Need to get to the next page. There we go. Finally, it appears the Premier may be using the federal election as an opportunity to raise her own national profile, possibly at the expense of the CPC and Pierre Poilievre's efforts to become Canada's next Prime Minister. Recent developments in her political agenda raise legitimate questions about her intentions for Alberta's role within the Canadian Federation, another area where I find myself at odds with her leadership. I have consistently spoken out in defense of core conservative principles: honesty, transparency, and good governance. On April 16th, I was removed from the UCP caucus for challenging the party's departure from these values. Under Premier Smith's leadership, the identity of the UCP is eroding just as quickly as its commitment to fiscal responsibility, accountable government, and justice. While I am disappointed at the events that have occurred, I will continue to serve as an independent member for the Legislative Assembly of Alberta for Airdrie Cochrane. My commitment to holding the government accountable and representing the people of this constituency remains steadfast. Thank you sincerely for your continued support, encouragement, and kind words. Sincerely, Peter Guthrie, MLA, Airdrie Cochrane. So, she's lost this gentleman from cabinet, and she also has members of the Indigenous community upset. At my last check, I believe there were at least 9 different letters from 9 different groups, all written with the same message. You can't do that, right? And of course, there's an MP, an MLA, pardon me, in the legislature in Alberta. His name is Brooks Arcand, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And we've talked about him before. And how would I put it? If you are, as a lot of people in the conservative movement do, going to tell someone from the Indigenous community how things work on their own territory, you're not setting yourself up for a good day. I'll just put it that way. If that person also happens to be rainbow, you are not setting yourself up for a good day. And yeah, she was kind of told a bit in the legislature that this is not the way it's going to work, right? So there's only so much that she's able to do here, and you will see in this video. How would I put it? She does mention Indigenous people, and she says that treaty will be respected, but don't I don't see where there exists a world in which these two concepts can exactly coexist. So I do not know how you can talk about Alberta separation in any way, shape, or form while talking about respecting treaty in the same breath. I just don't see how it's even possible. So we'll see what this has the potential to be eventually rather explosive. But hey, we'll take a look at this. Danielle Smith, again, said didn't have the courage of her convictions enough to stand in front of the press on the day she said it. Absolutely needed the safety of not being interrupted and not being questioned in any way, shape, or form here. We're going to stop a few times on this. There's a lot of bullshit packed in. The bullshit per second rate on this is pretty high. All right, kids and cubs, let's just make sure all that is set. Yes, it is. I take no pleasure in showing this. The Premier of Alberta, Danielle Smith, not rowing in the same direction as the rest of the team, clearly announcing that she intends to be as unhelpful as humanly possible.
My fellow Albertans, today I wish to speak to you about the future of Alberta and Canada. Albertans have always been loyal, proud, and generous Canadians. We love Canada. We have fought wars and died defending Canada. We've opened our doors wide for millions of our fellow Canadians searching for opportunity, many of whom stay and become Albertan, and many who return home to their native province. All have been welcomed with open arms. Our province has contributed hundreds of billions of dollars more to the federal treasury for use in other parts of the country than we'll ever receive back in benefits. We have allowed this to, frankly, we know how blessed our province is with an endowment of natural resources that no other country on earth possesses. And we want all of our friends, families, and fellow Canadians across the country to benefit from it. We don't ask for special treatment or handouts. We just want to be free to develop and export that incredible wealth of resources we have for the benefit of our families and future generations.
Okay. Bullshit, stop here. First of all, can we get a fact check on all that economic data that Alberta contributes more to the country than they'll ever get back? Not exactly convinced on that. Then there is that depends when you start the counter. Do you start the counter from 1970 something on that, 1980 something, 2000, or do you start back from like 1905 ish? Right, because Alberta didn't get to where it is alone. Now did it? The "we love Canada" thing and all that kind of stuff, right? Okay, Albertans do. We're just not sure whether or not you do, Danielle. Here. All right. Let's keep this is the frame here. She's setting up some stuff, and you have to understand that Danielle is the master of fun with words, right? She's very media trained. Also, um, watch the hands, right? Normally, she's always ringing them, whatnot, and she's got them there on the table. She's got that discipline, but watch the fingers go. Watch the fingers go.
Free to pursue opportunities with the ideals of entrepreneurship, hard work, and innovation that have become synonymous with the name of our province. Freedom to choose how best to provide healthcare, education, and other needed social services to our people, even if it's done differently than what Ottawa has in mind. Strong and free is more than just our provincial motto. It represents who we are and how we want to live as a people. And that is why Albertans are so frustrated with the direction of our country. For the last 10 years, successive Liberal governments in Ottawa, supported by their new Democrat allies, have unleashed a tidal wave of laws, policies, and political attacks aimed directly at Alberta's free economy.
That's a lie. That's a lie. Nobody set out to attack Alberta's economy. We set out to make sure that we were doing the right things when it comes to climate change, and that we can ensure that we had markets to which to export our goods that weren't going to be affected by a carbon border adjusting mechanism. Now, the fact that Alberta has successfully whined and complained about oil and gas and asking them to do anything at any time has created a situation now that every single sector in Canada, pretty much save oil and gas, has made very big, significant reductions. And now we're at the point where oil and gas is the number one drag on us hitting those big numbers. Everybody else has started to do a big part, but oil and gas has not yet. So we made everybody else go first. And now everybody has gone first. And now it is oil and gas time. And she's still resisting them doing their part. She won't have it. She frames it as a tax on Alberta's economy. She frames it as Ottawa singling out Alberta for some size of special treatment. She keeps on saying she doesn't want special treatment, but that's all Alberta wanted. Alberta wanted the equalization formula reviewed when Harper was the prime minister. Yes. And Jason, I mean, they had a conservative premier in Alberta. They had a conservative prime minister. They redid the equalization formula so that Alberta would be advantaged. And here we are, not even 20 years later, and they're complaining again, saying that the equalization formula is unfair and blaming Ottawa for it and Liberals for it when it's their own. If you want to change the equalization payment so you get to keep more money when oil is high, and then change it again so that you keep more money when oil is low, that's the very definition of asking for special treatment. Right? You keep going.
And in effect, against the future and livelihoods of our people. They have blocked new pipelines with C-69, canceled multiple oil and gas projects, and banned the very tanker ships needed to carry those resources to new markets. They have stacked an oil and gas production cap on top of a crippling industrial carbon tax, making new energy and agricultural projects economically impossible to pursue without massive subsidies from governments, which Ottawa has failed to provide and which our taxpayers cannot afford. This onslaught of anti-energy, anti-agriculture, and anti-resource development policies have scared away global investments to the tune of $500 billion.
Stop here. Notice that she makes no mention of she herself doing the exact same thing to the renewables industry in her own province. This is not about energy. This is not about chasing away opportunity. This is not about imposing arbitrary laws like how the windmills will affect the view. It's not about any of that. These are all things that she has done in her own province to sabotage the energy industry. She never talks about that anywhere in these 18 minutes when she's talking about Alberta's resources, bringing them to market, making money off it. The renewable sector that she herself killed, all the things that she's accusing the federal government of doing to oil and gas, she's done to renewables. So she's not against these behaviors. She's not standing up for Albertans. Stand up for oil and gas. Specifically, she's a lobbyist masquerading as a premier.
Driving those investments and jobs out of Alberta and Canada to much more attractive investment climates in the United States, Asia, and the Middle East. Having traveled much of the world these past few years, it is evident that Canada is not viewed as an attractive place to invest in resource development, manufacturing, or agriculture because of our high carbon taxes, endless red tape, and the uncertainty and chaos brought about by these and other federal government policies.
Again, notice that she never acknowledges the chaos brought up by repeatedly determining things unilaterally as unconstitutional, winning in the Alberta court and then going to the Supreme Court and losing. C-69 that she keeps on saying was deemed unconstitutional was not deemed unconstitutional. A small portion of it was deemed unconstitutional. The rest of the bill stands. And she often does that. She declares, oh, the carbon tax was declared unconstitutional, or this. And then you go and read the discussion. It's like this one little segment like this. And the Supreme Court usually gives advice on how it is that they can do to remedy that. And the Liberal government, as opposed to the government that we had under Harper, actually takes the court's advice and then does what the court orders, and then the projects are good again. Whereas the Harper government turns around and goes, oh my God, these activist judges are terrible. We need to stop them. Send me money so that we can stop these activists, and then stops working on the actual damn pipeline or project. That's been the MO. So when she's out there making all these comments, saying that all of this is the fault of Ottawa, Ottawa's created the chaos, whatnot. When the Supreme Court tells you need to consult with Indigenous people, and you turn around and you say, no, we're not going to consult with them. What we're going to do for the next 5 years is start screaming and yelling about activist judges. Well, that too creates a climate of uncertainty for business investment. It's like, you're not blameless here, successive conservative governments of Alberta. Almost exclusively conservative governments of Alberta, except for 4 years. You're not blameless for this situation.
As a result, Canada has fallen to dead last in economic growth among industrialized nations. The world looks at us like we've lost our minds. We have the most abundant and accessible natural resources of any country on earth, and yet we landlock them, sell what we do produce to a single customer to the south of us, while enabling polluting dictatorships to eat our lunch.
All right. Again, when given that Canada's abusive boyfriend is cooling his heels, trying to get a seat again, Canada's abusive girlfriend stops up. What the hell is she saying here? You hear the way she talks about us?
For Albertans, these attacks on our province by our own federal government have become unbearable. As I said, these policies have cost Albertans roughly $500 billion in investment, and that loss is growing daily. It has and will continue to cost hundreds of thousands of jobs, robbing countless Albertans and other Canadians of their means of providing for their families. It has cost us a decade of opportunities and tens of billions in lost royalties that could have been invested in the health, education, infrastructure, and social services.
Could have, not would have, could have.
Albertans and Canadians need. And what's worse, Ottawa continues onward with more destructive policies. They have imposed net zero mandates on our natural gas-based power grid, causing investment in reliable generation from natural gas to flee, thereby endangering the future stability of our power grid and risking future blackouts and spikes in electricity costs for Alberta families and businesses. They have attacked our food producers with methane taxes, onerous regulations on fertilizer, electric vehicle mandates, and many other destructive policies that have hiked costs on our farmers and ranchers and driven billions of dollars of investment in agriculture elsewhere. They've interfered in provincial jurisdiction time and again, from taking over the regulation of plastics to mandating how we operate childcare, healthcare, and dental care, to harassing law-abiding firearms owners, to dozens of other examples of unconstitutional interference. And of course,
It's not unconstitutional just because you say it is, Danny.
Alberta has fought back. We always have and always will. We passed the Sovereignty Within a United Canada Act and have invoked it twice to protect Albertans as best we can from the effects of the net zero electricity regulations and the energy production cap. We beat the feds in court on both the No New Pipelines Law, C-69, and their attempt to regulate plastics, though they have ignored both court decisions to this point. And we have just announced a court challenge on the net zero electricity regulations and are further preparing to also challenge the energy production cap. We continue to do all in our power to counteract Ottawa's chill on investment in energy, agriculture, and our other job sectors through various tax cuts and incentive programs, which greatly strain the provincial budget. We have fought these attacks from Ottawa furiously and have won some important battles, but the lost opportunities, jobs, and futures of so many Albertans are costly and demoralizing, as are the growing number of Eastern politicians who choose to openly demonize and target Alberta for political gain.
Because that's not a two-way street there, right? This entire screed right now is not about demonizing everybody else for your political gain. Right, Danielle?
That is why a large majority of Albertans are so deeply frustrated with the results of last week's federal election. It's not that our preferred candidate and party lost.
Yes,
that
it
happens
is.
in a democracy. It's that the same Liberal government with almost all the same ministers responsible for our nation's inflation, housing, crime, and budget crisis, and that oversaw the attack on our provincial economy for the past 10 years, have been returned to power.
And I guess we shouldn't point out then when she became leader of the UCP, she was a new leader with the same old cabinet ministers and the same old everything else too, but it wasn't true for her, right?
Now, as we all know, one thing has changed. We have a new Prime Minister. And I will say that in my first conversation with him since the election, he had some promising things to say about changing the direction of his government's anti-resource policies. However, Albertans are more of a actions speak louder than words kind of people. So while I will in good faith work with Prime Minister Mark Carney on
Please tell me you're laughing too. Sorry. Good faith and Daniel Smith don't work in the same sentence. I'm sorry.
on unwinding the mountain of destructive legislation and policies that have ravaged our provincial and national economy.
I'm of good faith, but I will work hard to take down the mountain of destructive policies that have ravaged our good faith, though.
Economies this past decade. Until I see tangible proof of real change, Alberta will be taking steps to better protect ourselves from Ottawa. As a start, I will soon appoint a special negotiating team to represent our province in negotiations with the federal government on the following reforms requested by our province. We hope this will result in a binding agreement that Albertans can have confidence in. Call it an Alberta Accord, if you will. First, Alberta requires guaranteed corridor and port access to tidewater off the Pacific, Arctic, and Atlantic coasts for the international export of Alberta oil, gas, critical minerals, and other resources in amounts supported by the free market, rather than by the dictates and whims of Ottawa.
That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Nobody's going to guarantee you that. And remember earlier on, she said, we landlocked our thing. No, we didn't landlock. Alberta is landlocked. We had nothing to do with that. You'll remember that pipeline that you keep on saying, Northern Gateway, that you keep on saying the federal government canceled, was actually opposed by BC Premier John Horgan. And I believe that you guys mused about cutting them off. Energy East, the company backed out of it, and Quebec didn't want it. Keystone was canceled by the United States. Federal government had nothing to do with any of those things. You haven't been able to get a pipeline or a gas line to Tidewater because rather than listening to the courts and doing what they prescribe, you fight them. You threaten other provinces. It's up to Alberta to play nice with the other provinces that it wants their pipeline to cross. That's not the federal government's job. And it's certainly not the federal government's job to do it despite Alberta sitting in the corner going, if the other province don't do that, we're going to cut you off. Because that's not helpful in getting the federal government to get another province to say, hey, why don't you let this pass across your territory? Hey, Quebec, we know you had Megantic, but hey, how about another pipeline? What is she doing to help? What is she doing to help? She wants the federal government to guarantee the government of Alberta access to all this tidewater, regardless of how they behave or what they do. You want a pipeline to tidewater, you want guaranteed access. How about you behave like a normal human being and actually have discussions with the people whose help you need to get that to happen, rather than saying, well, we're too big. It seems that we're too big of a dick to make it happen, to play nice. So here, federal government, you do it for us, and we'll still keep being a dick here. This is dumb.
Every province in the country, other than Alberta and Saskatchewan, have coastal port access, and no province needs it more given the size and value of our resources. This will benefit all Canadians to the tune of trillions of dollars of economic activity, including billions for First Nations partners.
We're not demanding special treatment, but no province needs access to tidewater more than us. I would say that every province that has something to export has an equal need to access to tidewater. It's not a competition. Selfish, selfish, selfish.
Second, the federal government must end all federal interference in the development of provincial resources by repealing the No New Pipelines Law, C-69, the oil tanker ban, the net zero electricity regulations, the oil and gas emissions cap, the net zero vehicle mandate, and any federal law or regulation that purports to regulate industrial carbon emissions, plastics, or the commercial free speech of energy companies.
She cares more about the commercial free speech of energy companies than your right to breathe air without choking. It's a emissions cap, not a production cap. The more you reduce your emissions, the more you can produce. It's an emissions cap, not a production cap. And it's not going to happen. She wants the government to repeal absolutely everything environmental is what she's asking for. C-69 is not going to be repealed. Carney already told you that. It's not going to happen. She is making demands she knows are not going to happen. There's only one reason one does this: to provoke the people that she says she doesn't want to help. She wants that referendum. She keeps on saying, no, 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 no. But she's lowering the threshold, and now she's imposing some conditions that absolutely cannot be met. And she knows they cannot be met. That is not going to happen. And she's only at demand too. C-69 is not going anywhere. Emission caps are not going anywhere. Those things are necessary. You will not have a market to which to export your oil if you do not do it. You need to do these things. She is being dumb.
These laws are destroying investment confidence and costing Canada and Alberta hundreds of billions in investments each year. They need to go.
No, you need to go. What's costing billions of dollars of investment is not having a stable and consistent and predictable framework. A lot of the energy companies are looking for stable climate regulation so that they know they can export their product all across the world, no matter what, and know what they're dealing with, to know how much money to put aside to plan for it. You're the one that's fucking this up constantly by not agreeing to any regime whatsoever at any time, anywhere, under any circumstances. Just agree to something and give people the predictability they want, and the money will come back.
Third, the federal government must refrain from imposing export taxes or restrictions on the export of Alberta resources without the consent of the government of Alberta.
That is not going to happen. You might get consulted. You will not get a veto on this. Your consent is not required.
Frankly, all provinces should be given that same respect for their resources.
All provinces don't have it for a reason, so that the federal government can do federation stuff. It's a dumb request.
And fourth, the federal government must provide to Alberta the same per capita federal transfers and equalization as is received by the other three largest provinces, Quebec, Ontario, and British Columbia. We have no issue with Alberta continuing to subsidize smaller provinces with their needs.
Bullshit.
But there is no excuse for such large and powerful economies like Ontario, Quebec, BC, or Alberta to be subsidizing one another. That was never the intent of equalization, and it needs to end.
That's a lie. Okay, number one, Alberta does not pay into equalization. Never has, never will. There is no money going from Alberta to other provinces. Alberta does not subsidize other provinces. No province or territory subsidizes another one. Every province remits to the federal government the taxes that are rightfully due to the federal government, and then the federal government of these taxes takes a pool, puts it aside, and says, we, the federal government, are not going to spend this money. What we are going to do with this money as a federal government is make sure that Canadians, whether they live in Prince Edward Island or in Alberta, have a similar level of healthcare and education. And therefore, based in part on the fiscal capacity of a province to impose taxation, which Alberta has a very high ability to do that because it receives so much money in royalties and stuff from oil and gas. It doesn't even have a provincial sales tax. So they have all the fiscal capacity in the world. And that's why Alberta does not receive equalization from the federal government, not from other provinces, but the federal government. So when she's out there and saying that Alberta must receive the same equalization as other provinces, why? They have the most fiscal capacity of any in the world, which in Canada. What she's asking for is for all of Canadians to subsidize that 0% provincial sales tax. That's what the demand is. When she says equalization was never intended to subsidize the larger provinces, yes, it was. It was meant to subsidize all provinces, every single province through the history of Canada. I'm getting excited here. Every single province through the history of equalization has received it at least once, including Alberta. So if Alberta did receive it once, clearly it was intended to do so. And again, she proves again, if she says that Alberta, the provinces that allegedly are contributing into the equalization fund, should be getting the share of it, equal shares to the other ones. If all the provinces are receiving, who's putting into the fund? Oh, yeah, that would be the federal government because provinces don't pay into equalization. Danielle. Again, the federal government must give Alberta the same. That's never going to happen.
If these points can be agreed to by the federal government, I am convinced it will not only make Alberta and Canada an infinitely stronger and more prosperous country, but will eliminate the doubts a growing number of Albertans feel about the future of Alberta in Canada. While these negotiations with Ottawa are ongoing, our government will appoint, and I will chair, the Alberta Next panel.
Of course, Miss Control Freak will chair the panel so that the conversations that are had are only conversations of which she approves.
This panel will be composed of some of our best and brightest judicial, academic, and economic minds to join with me in a series of in-person and online town halls to discuss Alberta's future in Canada, and specifically, what next steps we can take as a province to better protect Alberta from any current or future hostile policies of the federal government.
The best minds, according to who, Danielle? You? Doesn't look promising. And again, right? Future hostile actions from Ottawa. But she's here to help.
Details of the membership and scope of that panel will be released in the coming weeks. After the work of the panel is finished, it is likely we will place some of the more popular ideas discussed with the panel to a provincial referendum so that all Albertans can vote on them sometime in 2026. To be clear from the outset, our government will not be putting a vote on separation from Canada on the referendum ballot. However, if there is a successful citizen-led referendum petition that is able to gather the requisite number of signatures requesting such a question to be put on a referendum, our government will respect the democratic process and include that question on the 2026 provincial referendum ballot as well.
Notice how she needs a sip of water after that one. Right? While we would never put, this is the exact same thing. Yeah, when we talk about Pierre Poilievre and the federal conservatives and abortion, this is the exact same thing. I, as a government, would never put separation on a referendum ballot. But everyone, if you guys would like to do it on yourselves, we're happy to let you do it by 2026. But we would never do it ourselves. No, we have no hand in it whatsoever. We just lowered the bar and we're doing this press conference encouraging you to do it. But no, we have nothing to do with it. Just like Pierre, oh, my government will never introduce a motion on abortion, but your backbenchers will, and you won't block it, and you won't precede it, and you won't sanction a backbencher for it, and you'll allow the vote to happen on it. And if the vote should happen to pass, oh well, I mean, you probably won't use your power to veto it because you believe Parliament supreme, right? So it's the same damn plausible, the fig leaf, the very tiny fig leaf of plausible deniability. So she has to drink water after that whopper and to prepare for the one that's coming. Hold on to your hats, kids. That's a big sip because there's a big lag coming.
I also want to state unequivocally that as Premier, I'm entirely committed to protecting, upholding, and honoring the inherent rights of First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples.
She said that she almost said that with a sad face, straight face. You just saw that little out there. You could tell that one was hard for her to say, and she doesn't mean it. Take that with a shaker of salt.
Therefore, any citizen-initiated referendum question must not violate the constitutional rights of First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, and must uphold and honor Treaties 6, 7, and 8, should any referendum question ever pass.
And that cannot be done. It's literally impossible to have a resolution for the separation of Alberta that does respect Treaty 6, 7, and 8. So at some point, she's going to have to disappoint someone. She's either going to have to tell the people who want to have the referendum on the ballot, well, gee, you did all this work, but gosh darn jolly gee, oh, your motion violates Treaty 6, 7, and 8, and we can't put it on, sorry. Or she's got to turn around to the Indigenous people and say, well, I know you have this tape that you're showing me saying that I won't do anything, but, well, you're just Indian people, so fuck you. Right? We know that's how it will go down. She can't promise this. It is impossible.
This is non-negotiable. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, that being separation. We are well aware that there is a large and growing number of Albertans that have lost hope in Alberta having a free and prosperous future as a part of Canada. Many of these Albertans are organizing petitions to trigger a citizen-initiated referendum, as I mentioned earlier. The vast majority of these individuals are not fringe voices to be marginalized or vilified. They are loyal Albertans. They are quite literally our friends and neighbors who've just had enough of having their livelihoods and prosperity attacked by a hostile federal government. They're frustrated, and they have every reason to be. I want to talk directly to those Albertans.
Before she goes there, what about the rest of Canada who are tired and exhausted of a hostile provincial government affecting our livelihoods? The rest of Canada doesn't fucking care. Pardon my language, if they are loyal Albertans, we fucking care that they are loyal Canadians. We know you are not, Danielle Smith. I'm sorry. But this is like, we're not fringe and we shouldn't be disrespected and we shouldn't, like, respect first is given. Given. What respect have you shown in any way, shape, or form? What respect has this movement shown to anybody? I'm sorry, but I just can't take this over sanctimonious rhetoric from her. It's just, it's, again, the amount of bullshit per second here is absolutely just insane. She's disloyal. I'm not going to say traitor, but she is disloyal. We need everybody to be rowing in the same direction at the moment, and she is categorically refusing to do this here. She is declaring herself to be the number one domestic threat to the nation at this moment. Let's keep going.
I know how frustrated so many of you have become with our country and the feeling of having politicians living thousands of miles away, passing laws and rules that have cost you your loved ones, jobs, careers, dreams, and opportunities for a brighter future. As most Albertans know, I have repeatedly stated I do not support Alberta separating from Canada. I personally still have hope that there is a path forward for a strong and sovereign Alberta within a united Canada. And let me explain a few reasons why.
Yeah, sure, Jan.
First, Alberta already has and can continue to use the Alberta Sovereignty within a United Canada Act and other measures to fight through much of Ottawa's damaging interference and prosper in spite of it. We will also continue our successful battles against these unconstitutional and damaging policies in both the courts of law and public opinion. And there is more to be hopeful for. This past election demonstrated that attitudes across the country, especially among young people, are changing with respect to understanding the importance of free markets and the development of our natural resources. People are pushing back against government censorship and cancel culture. More and more Canadians understand that in order for Canada to play a role in ending conflict and poverty at home and abroad, our country must become strong again. And we can only do that by becoming an energy and economic superpower using the vast and unmatched energy, mineral resources, and fertile lands of our country. 85% of Canadians in this last election voted for the two leaders promising to turn Canada into an energy superpower and to build resource corridors, including for oil and gas, while only 13% voted for the fringe voices in the Socialist NDP and Bloc parties and their extremist leave-it-in-the-ground policies. Obviously, we have a ways to go, and it will take a lot of work to undo the damage caused by these last 10 years of Liberal NDP rule. But that clear change in public opinion gives me hope. I think it should give all Albertans hope. Now, of it stronger and more prosperous than ever. In closing, I want Albertans to know how important it will be in the coming months for our province to be steadfast, unified, and to refrain from heeding the voices of those seeking to divide Albertans against one another. There will be many outside, and even inside this province, who will try and sow fear and anger among us. They will seek to divide us into different camps for the purposes of marginalizing and vilifying one another based on differing opinions.
Oh, the UCP playbook.
Effectively pitting neighbor against neighbor and Albertan against Albertan. This is not the Alberta way. It's not who we are, and it's not who I am. There are thousands of Albertans who are so frustrated with the last 10 years of Ottawa's attacks on their friends and families' livelihoods that they feel Alberta would be stronger and more prosperous as an independent nation. That is an understandable and justifiable feeling to have, even if we disagree on what to do about it. These Albertans are not traitors, nor should they ever be treated as such. They just love their province and family and want a better future than the one Ottawa is offering them right now. There are also thousands of Albertans that are so attached and loyal to their identity as Canadians that there is nothing Ottawa has done to our province that would justify Alberta leaving Canada. It's not that they think everything is perfect or that we've been treated fairly. They just believe being part of Canada, despite those problems, has much more value than leaving. These individuals are also loyal Albertans and should never be accused of being anything less.
They're also loyal Canadians. Danielle. They're also loyal Canadians, unlike the group for whom you're advocating right now.
And then there are hundreds of thousands of Albertans that probably feel a lot like I do, that are deeply frustrated with the way our province has been mistreated and damaged by successive federal Liberal governments and are not willing to tolerate the status quo any longer. But these Albertans still believe there is a viable path to a strong, free, and sovereign Alberta empowered to succeed and prosper within a united Canada. A Canada where the federal government actually honors the Constitution, upholds provincial rights, and empowers provinces to pursue their unique potentials as their people so choose. Regardless of what each of us believes about this issue or what path we think is best, we as Albertans must be able to respectfully debate and discuss these issues with our friends, family members, and neighbors. I know that if we do that, in the end, our province will find the best solution for this immense challenge we face and come out of it stronger and more free than ever. I'll always put my faith in Albertans to find the right path. I trust you. May our beautiful Alberta always remain forever strong and free.
Kids and cubs. Yeah. Sorry I had to suffer through all of that. But yeah, as a Kit Chris here puts on, this is a paid advertisement for separation, paid for with taxpayers' funds. It is. That's exactly what it is. And I'm seeing a lot of kits noticing what I said about the hands, right? Wow. It's yeah, she's terrible. She's just terrible. So yeah, couched in there, I don't really want Canada to separate, and we would never do anything for that to happen. But gee, aren't you all just so frustrated, like frustrated enough to sign some type of petition so that we could put something on separation on the ballot? Because that would give me something that I can campaign and advocate for the next, maybe 2 years or so, with anytime somebody wants to talk to me about AHS. But hey, yeah, wouldn't it be great? Oh, look at what Ottawa's doing again. Ooh, terrible. Ooh, ah. And of course, in that whole thing, right, it says, "Hey, don't worry," like we still have this Alberta Sovereignty Act that we could just use any time to like threaten Canada whenever. This is not Team Canada. This is not conciliatory. This is not, even though she said, "Oh, you had first meeting with Carney, and I see some." This is not that. This is give me everything I want, or I'm going to end you. I'm going to make your life hell. And at this particular moment in time, right? Somebody said the timing of this is sketchy. Right? Why now? Why now? Why can't she be like everybody else? Why does she have to be the one? Again, somebody's trying to draw attention to herself. Somebody's trying to pull focus. Maybe Danielle. People are sitting there like this. Was Danielle trying to help or hurt Pierre? Yeah. I don't know if she's trying to help or hurt Pierre, but all I know is that we're in a situation right now where Pierre is about to run in a riding, hoping to become one day Prime Minister of Canada in a province that wants to secede from it. And he's now living on the home turf of the head secessionist, who claims she's not one, but the head secessionist. And he, at some point, will have to either approve or denounce deadbeat Danielle at some point, and he will not be able to do it with his full chest, of course. So I don't know how well that's going to go for him being in Alberta and potentially having to say something that stands up against her in her home province where she's the boss. I mean, let's face it here, right? She is the boss when it comes to her and Poilievre. She's got his balls in her purse. That's it. She carries his scrotum in her handbag. She says, jump. He says, how high? Remember, Pierre is in Alberta for a pity seat. He has been donated the political gift of a lifetime. The guy who wants to be Canada's leader of the opposition again is going to get there via a pity seat in a province constantly threatening to separate. With a leader who will not be ignored. This is not good. This is not good. It's not going to last. My God. Yeah, Kit Kat W here. She's in her own fantasy world. Most Albertans are not with her and can't stand her. I wish the RCMP would finish the investigations and arrest her. Well, finish the investigations, and if there is cause to arrest her, arrest her. I still don't know what takes them so long. Neither do I for these types of investigations, I swear. Kid Chris, this speech isn't a vision. It's a taxpayer-funded separatist infomercial wrapped in gaslighting. Indeed. Indeed. So, yeah, Kits, you have been definitely paying attention here on this one. Yeah, again, Kit Saucy, you can't ask to separate and then demand access to ports. First mistake in negotiations. Yeah, Elaine, geography landlocked Alberta. Liberals had nothing to do with it. Oh, God. That's listen, she is in trouble politically. She knows it. And by this, what she has signaled to the rest of the country is that she is fully willing to burn it all down in order to save herself. Another way, Danielle is exactly like Trump. She will torch it all to save herself. But like I said, I'm wondering if she's trying to sink Pierre because, well, there's still a while to go, right? I mean, Mr. Kuruk can't actually resign his seat yet. There's something like there's a 30-day wait that Kuruk must have uh, before he can actually do it. I think it's time for Elections Canada um, to do a couple of things here, according to CBC Light here. It says, according to the Office of the Speaker of House of Commons, members of Parliament can't resign their seat until 30 days after their election result is published in the Canada Gazette, the federal government's official publication. After the 2019 and 2021 federal elections, it took about a month before the Chief of Electoral Officer's validated results were published in Gazette. CBC News has asked Elections Canada when it expects to publish results this time around. The Parliament of Canada Act sets out when a member can and can't resign. Olivier Duhem, spokesperson for the Speaker's office, said the 30-day window is enshrined in the Canada Elections Act and, quote, linked to the contestation period of an election. After this period, a member may submit the resignation unless the election is being contested, he said in a statement to CBC News. Once Kuruk is cleared to resign, it's the Speaker who informs the Chief Electoral Officer that the seat is vacant. The Governor General, on the advice of the Prime Minister and Cabinet, then sets the date for the by-election. A by-election can be called between 11 and 180 days after an MP resigns. Prime Minister Mark Carney said Friday he won't go the long route. Quote, I will ensure that it happens as soon as possible. No games, nothing, he told reporters at a news conference. That could mean Poilievre will be back leading the opposition and facing off against the Prime Minister at some point during the fall sitting. Kuruk first won the seat of Battle River Crow in 2019 and was re-elected last week with almost 82% of the vote. So there you go there. Let's see. Now, I'm just taking a look here. It says there's some precedent of MPs stepping aside for their party leaders. After winning the 1983 Progressive Conservative leadership race, Brian Mulroney was on the hunt for a seat. Nova Scotia MP Elmer MacKay, father of former Conservative Cabinet Minister Peter MacKay, resigned his Central Nova seat, and Mulroney was able to lead the opposition. Mulroney ran in his home riding of Manicouagan in 1984, which his party won in a landslide. MacKay was re-elected in Central Nova that same year and served in Mulroney's cabinet. In 1990, New Brunswick MP Fernand Robichaud ceded his riding of Beauséjour, so that's the one occupied by Dominique Leblanc at the moment. So Liberal Party leader Jean Chrétien could run in a by-election. Chrétien had represented the Saint-Maurice area of Quebec under former Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, but had resigned before making a successful leadership push. When the 1993 election rolled around, Chrétien ran in Saint-Maurice, which includes his hometown of Shawinigan, and Robichaud successfully reoffered in Beauséjour. Robichaud went on to serve in Chrétien's cabinet and was later appointed to the Senate. So, while these are examples of leaders that ran in a by-election in a seat where somebody gave up, in these two examples, the leader did not run in a by-election after losing their seat in a general election, though. They won the party leadership, didn't have a seat, and then ran in a by-election to enter the House. Not exactly the same thing. So yeah, they're going to have to wait a couple of days, and then however time before the election is called, so that all the results can be audited, and then Prime Minister Carney will call the by-election. How long it will be, whether or not it will be 11 or 180 days. I guess he could say, hey, just 11 days and just come on in. That would be a little undemocratic, though. I think it has to be a certain amount. I'm not sure he'll make it 180 days. But yeah, then again, depending when he announces it, it could be. I mean, if Poilievre isn't going to enter the parliament until sometime in September anyway, and the by-election goes in July, then it can be 180 days. Why not? Right? In that sense. So give plenty of time for Pierre to trip over himself with the community there if he has to campaign for 2 months. Maybe he'll screw up if you give him enough time to do it. But yeah, that's what we're looking at here with regards to Pierre Poilievre. So we're going to talk very briefly. Let's see how much time we're at. We're at 2:40. Oh my God, I just have so much news. It's ridiculous. But the Danielle Smith thing had to be shown. New Democrats had their caucus meeting yesterday, and it seems that they have chosen veteran MP Don Davies to act as interim leader until a race can be held to replace the outgoing leader Jagmeet Singh, who announced his resignation last week. Don Davies is one of 7 MPs remaining in caucus. Remember, the party no longer has a recognized party status. But Don Davies said that he is going to make a case to extend at least some of the accompanying privileges to the New Democrats when the House of Commons reopens for business later this month. This is an application that you would make to the Board of Internal Economy. Don Davies is an interesting choice because he only won his seat by a few votes, and it was supposed to be considered a safe riding. So this might give him a little more profile, given that he's not intending to run for the party leadership, if he tends to run again for that seat, and help him secure it. Now, with regard to the Board of Internal Economy, it seems that the reasoning that they might use is because, well, yeah, the NDP is minority parliament, and the NDP does constitute the balance of power. So therefore, it should be recognized as full party status to have all the privileges and funding and all that kind of stuff to do its job as the balance of power. But that presupposes that everybody in parliament is going to accept the fact that the Bloc Québécois, who have more seats, cannot possibly be the balance of power simply because they are a more autonomous, sovereigntist, separatist type of party, which may be true in terms of what you may think in terms of, oh my God, this party and whatnot, but in terms of the law doesn't care. Doesn't care whether it's a separatist party or a federalist party or socialist party or the party with 2 leaders or grassroots or whatnot. It doesn't care about that. It cares about seats. And on seats, the NDP is not alone as the balance of power. The Bloc has it, and Bloc has the official party status. So I don't see any real reason for which, if we're doing rules or rules, that the NDP should be granted this. Now, of course, nothing stops. I'm not sure if the Prime Minister has any say in this because it is a Board of Internal Economy decision. I believe the Board of Internal Economy, if I'm not mistaken, is formed of MPs. I will just take a look at that to just make sure that I'm giving you proper information, because I don't want to lie to you here. Let's see. Okay, it doesn't say. Okay, I was looking. So I would guess here, because it's on ourcommons.ca, that the Board of Internal Economy is formed of members. It's created by the Parliament of Canada Act and has equal representation from the governing party and officially recognized parties. So basically, this group of 12 people, 7 out of the 12 would have to agree to say, we're going to give the NDP official party status. Mark Carney can do the no games thing again, said, yeah, sure, we'll fine with that. That would take care of 6, and they would need 1 more to do that. So I guess it is technically possible that it would be awarded. In this particular case, I think Parliament would benefit from it if it were to happen, to be totally honest. But we'll see on that one. But normally I would be cynical and say, yeah, that's not going to happen. In this particular case, I can see an avenue where it would. So I will leave it at that. But if it doesn't, it wouldn't be a great scandal. Also, because of the financial stuff that we mentioned yesterday, not getting that refund from Elections Canada for having for the candidates that received 10% or more in their district, it seems that the party will probably have to lay off about 100 people at headquarters until they can fundraise and get themselves on their feet again. So yeah, that's going to be that's not going to be a fun time for that party. I would not want to be a part of the NDP right now. It's definitely not going to be easy time. I'm not counting the NDP out though, and I'm definitely not turning around and saying they're done and they're over. Not at all. The NDP's has been in this situation before and has survived before, and thrived even after surviving. But it's a tough road. There's no lie. There's a tough road. All right. Final little thing before we're going. Probably won't have too much time to get into it, but I'll show a couple of things very quickly. So we have Carney meeting the president today. We have Danielle Smith. So that's the meeting. We have Danielle Smith doing her thing. That's the separating. And well, for the rejoining, of course, well, we have Pierre Poilievre because he's trying to rejoin his party in caucus. And Pierre, I guess while he was out in Alberta meeting and getting to know Ian Currick, because I don't know how well he actually knew him before, I guess he decided to film a little commercial that would be probably right in Mr. Currick's writing, I would assume. So in it, Pierre has a message for us. Now remember, he said that it was with great humility that he accepted the offer of the seat. Let's, kids and cubs, see how much humility there actually is here.
Well, it's been about a week since the election, and it didn't go how we wanted. But when you get knocked down, you get up and get going. And we've got a lot to be thankful for. I'm thankful for you, the countless people who packed out our rally halls, our 2.3 million extra votes, the 25 extra seats, the breakthroughs in Ontario and BC, the expanded coalition of young people, union workers, entrepreneurs, soldiers, and countless others who had never voted before and are now supporting our conservative cause. Now, it wasn't enough. We didn't get over the finish line, which means that I need to learn and grow, and our team needs to expand. That will be my mission. And we've got a path. With a path to get elected back into Parliament as soon as possible, we'll be holding the government to account, proposing better ideas to solve the problems that you're facing every day. And our mission hasn't changed. I still want to put you back in charge of your life, give everyone who works hard a fair shot at an affordable home, living on a safe street, protected by police and soldiers and sound laws, so that everybody's safe and our flag flies high over the freest country on earth. Now, it won't be easy, but easy street leads to a dead end, and the hardest paths lead to the best destination. Our destination is a country where the possibilities are as big and blue as this prairie sky. Let's make it happen.
All right. So it seems that we are moving from bring it home to let's make it happen. Talking a lot of that commercial was probably stolen from some of those inspirational posters, talking about the path while he's walking on a path. It won't be easy, he says. And sorry, I can't stop laughing because right now everybody seems to be bending over backwards in Cirque du Soleil fashion to actually make it rather easy. Currick just gives up his seat. Prime Minister Carney says, yeah, sure, I won't fight you. He's running in the safest district and all. How will it not be easy, Pierre? How will it not be easy? Everything's being gift wrapped and donated to you, but how will it not be easy? And then, of course, I need to grow and learn, which again, sorry, made me laugh because that's something this man has not shown any capacity of being able to do over 20 years. But now Pierre wants you to buy that he will be able to grow and learn. All of this in a commercial where he's basically saying it's going to be business as usual, right? We got to work hard and we got to make it up there so we can start holding this government to account and blah, blah, blah. How about holding yourself to account and your party to account? You got a couple of months off there, buddy. So they're already framing this, right, as if they're going to get him back in the parliament. And you hear Andrew Scheer talking on these things. Well, Pierre Bo's going to be in parliament in no time. Yeah, thanks to who? Thanks to who? Because you're all talking like you're self-made men again. that you're going to do this all on your own. Kirk gave you a donation. Carney is not going to stand in your way, and you seem to have an entire nation of people that are going, oh, well, okay, rather than going, hey, didn't we just cut you? It's very, very, very easy for Pierre. What everybody's counting on is that Pierre is incapable of learning and growing. And will sabotage himself. And it seems so that the Liberal plan is that Pierre will be reconfirmed as leader before the party realizes that Pierre is incapable of that growth. And then you're stuck with them. But yeah, I'm not impressed with any of this. Kits and Cubs, you know what? I have more for you, but that is enough at the moment here. Just taking a look here. You know what? Actually, I do have one. I only have one small more thing. So you know what? In for a penny, in for a pound. We'll put it up for you here. But yes, Conservative MPs and senators will, for the first time since the party fell short of its third and counting bid to oust the Liberals from office, but nevertheless managed to secure its highest share of cross-country vote in decades and boost its own seat count from 120 to 143, even as their leader Pierre Poilievre went down to defeat in his erstwhile home riding of Carleton, Ontario. As a standard Conservative caucus protocol, no details on the timing of today's meetup have been released, but it's expected to get underway behind tightly closed doors of the party's traditional caucus room later this morning. At the top of the to-do list, a series of potentially critical votes on whether to opt into some or all of the provisions outlined in the Reform Act, a backbench bill initiated by Conservative MP Michael Chong during the final months of then Prime Minister Stephen Harper's government, aimed at rebalancing the power dynamics between party and caucus leadership and rank-and-file MPs. In addition to sections that, if adopted, would give the caucus the final say over expelling or readmitting caucus members, it also, quote, includes the ability to elect an interim leader if one dies, resigns, or is incapacitated, and establishes a process to, quote, launch a leadership review to either endorse or replace the leader of a party, the Globe and Mail noted last week. Quote, the vote on a leadership review is held by secret ballot, the same process that led to the ouster of former Conservative leader Aaron O'Toole after he lost the 2021 election to Justin Trudeau's Liberals. Another time-sensitive question that's likely to come up, who should temporarily take on the title of leader of His Majesty's loyal opposition until Poilievre is back in his front and center row seat in the House of Commons, which is now all but guaranteed to happen before the fall. Sitting gets rolling after the two-term Conservative MP Damien Couric served notice that he intends to step down as MP of the solidly Conservative riding of Battle River Crowfoot, Alberta, clearing the way for a by-election this summer. Last week, CBC News reported that Deputy Leader Melissa Lantsman, House Leader and former party leader Andrew Scheer, and Michael Barrett, the party's ethics critic, are among the names that have been floated by Conservative sources in the days since the vote. Three completely unlikable and uncharismatic people. They want that to be the face of the interim leadership while we're waiting for Pierre. So again, no change. Quote, those three have been trusted Poilievre lieutenants throughout his tenure and have been given leeway to speak for the party publicly, including during the election, a work assignment given to a few other MPs or candidates. And MPs, most crucially, they, quote, all endorsed Poilievre's continued leadership in social media posts in the hours after the election loss, CBC notes. So, again, we have that. We have that going on, and also remember that we also have three recounts going on. We have three: Terrebonne, Terra Nova, and I believe, the Halton Mills, and there's a fourth one, not automatic judicial review because the number isn't below 1/1000th of the total votes cast, but in Windsor-Tecumseh Lakeshore, Ontario, which the party lost only by 77 votes, which is just a few shy of the automatic recount. The Liberals are applying for a recount in that one, just to see. So that one might be happening. Also, in the by-election that will be taking place in, oh darn, I need to remember, Battle something Crowfoot. For Pierre Poliev. I'm so sorry. I do not remember. I need to learn to remember the name of that because I'm going to be saying it a lot. But in that electoral district, Battle River Crowfoot, exactly, the longest ballot group is hoping to run 200 candidates in that one to disrupt in protest his return to Parliament and the fact that we're going to be blowing about $1 million on making sure that he can get a do-over, because apparently conservative leaders get do-overs when they lose. That's only fair. And Pierre is not assured because there's some articles going out there saying that Poliev can only survive as party leader if he makes seismic changes to his inner circle and to his approach. So there's probably going to be some conditions laid out in this meeting if you want us, if you don't want us to vote. See, the leadership review, I'm not sure if it's automatic because the guy lost, or whether or not it's part of this Reform Act and they actually have to vote to have it. So if it's automatic, then it must be held. Either way, that's one thing. If they need to vote to have it, caucus might vote not to have it. Then again, right? I think caucus, if it was smart, would want to reserve that power, because if they ask for these seismic changes to the inner circle and he says, yeah, but then they don't come, well, at least by having a leadership review, they have a chance to give him the boot if he didn't meet the membership's demands or the caucus demands prior to the by-election taking place, or at least not prior to the by-election, because that might happen before the leadership vote, but prior to the leadership vote. So there could be a situation where Pierre runs in this by-election, wins the seat. Let's say if it happens before the leadership review vote, the leadership review vote is cast and he still loses it. And then he's just an MP from any other in Alberta, which would be particularly delicious. Again, not sure that's going to happen, but there's again more rumbling even coming up from the ground floor. If you got your ear on the ground about Quebec MPs in particular, who are really mad that Pierre is not going, given he lost his seat. So there's lots of discontent already to mine within the party. And again, as been mentioned, if he must get rid of the inner circle and the demand is that Jenny Byrne must go, Jenny Byrne will not go quietly. That will be a messy, messy, messy breakup. All right, kids and cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I'm a little behind in the chat, and I see that I was frozen for a little bit. So sorry about that. Don't know how that happened. Everything was running pretty smoothly here, but yes, I'm seeing these responses here going, the beaver is back. The beaver is back. Oh, Kid Crystal. She sounded better frozen. Naughty, naughty. But we approve. We approve totally. Oh my word. Oh, that was nice. That was well played. Well played. That's the end of this episode. We hope that you love listening to us. We love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really, really, really appreciate it when you do. Now, kids and cubs, if you would like to, well, let's say, I don't know, make sure that you can have us with you wherever you go, because, you are busy Canadians, very engaged, doing stuff out there, making democracy happen. And sometimes you don't have time to sit down and watch. Well, hey, we are portable. You can take us to go with our podcast version, ears only. Scan that QR code that's available thanks to the Ray Girl, and that will bring you to our pod page, podpage.com/The True North Eager Beaver, lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words. And when you go there and just click on subscribe, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, zip, comes right to you. No fuss, no muss. Don't even have to go hunting for us. We make ourselves very visible because, hey, we like to help. Now, if you would like to help us in other ways, like, for example, with some of the algorithms, well, then the thing to do is to surf on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, where you will find 3 buttons: like, share, and subscribe. They need attention. They need you to pet them a little. So just give them a little click, and then they'll purr and they'll be very happy, and that will help us with the algorithm, and we will be very, very grateful. So thank you for your help with that. Also, if you want to help us with the algorithm, if you happen to be listening to us on Apple Podcasts or any other podcast player that allows you to give stars and reviews, please do. That really helps us out a lot. Thank you so much for that. Now, if you would like to help us in other ways, kids and cubs, we do incur some financial costs to bring this show to you, and we are grateful for all of the assistance that we can get in being able to continue this. Again, we're in our 5th season. Would not have been possible without you, kids and cubs. You might have had enough to bankroll a season or 2, but not the rest. And fortunately, you stepped up and made it so that we can be an ongoing thing. And we would like to be doing this for a very, very long time. So hopefully we can rely on your assistance. Our tip jar, or affectionately called the Eager Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund, where we ask for your contributions to fight the scourge that is dry beaver. A moist beaver is a very happy beaver. So if you would like to go down to our coffee page and find our tip jar, that's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. Just give a little click there. No donation is too small, so don't feel embarrassed. No donation is too small. Every little bit helps, okay? Now, if you're not able to donate financially, please do not worry, because the gifts of your attention and participation are the ones that matter the most to us. And, well, we love to hear from you. So please write to us. TrueNorthEagerBeaver@gmail.com is our email address. It's also where you can send us a direct transfer if you are buying Canadian and want your donation to be 100% Canadian and bypass those CE Tech bros from the States and everywhere else. But if you want to write to us and let us know what you want, what you think about the show, or give us a question for our Q&A thing, because we're still preparing that, but we need questions, write to us at TrueNorthEagerBeaver@gmail.com, or contact us on our socials. True Eager at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge, also at the Bad Place on the Jitter. True North Eager Beaver on Facebook, our original home on the web. And if you happen to be listening on YouTube, either live with the damn fam or after, right here in the comments section. We're not able to answer everybody, but we do read everything, and all your comments go into the show and help make it better. So thank you for your contributions. It really means the world to us. Okay, kids and cubs, that is it for me today. Gee, I got to start doing this a little faster. 3 hours. Didn't think I had that much to say, honestly, today. Kids and cubs, thank you so much for joining us. I always appreciate seeing you. You guys make my day. Now, I need one last little bit of help from you. So on the count of 3, kids and cubs, I need you to say, Mr. Beaver, cue the cock. So 1, 2, 3. I heard you. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right, kids and cubs, before we go, just a little bit of news about Canadians who make us proud. As I told you a few weeks ago, Bianca Andreescu has returned to the tennis courts after having had some injuries, and also it seems she needed to have her appendix removed, so that's why she didn't play in the Australian Open. She was ready to return, but then all of a sudden she started feeling pain in her stomach, and it's like, oops, appendectomy. But only on her, I think, third tournament back or so, she played a small tournament at 125, but played the doubles tournament there and ended up winning the event. It was in Catalonia, Spain, and oddly enough, in the final was Leilani Fernandez on the other side of the doubles net. So a victory for her, coming back from injury, which is really nice. Also, Vicky Mboko, who we've been talking to you about as well, who has been tearing it up this year. I think she's only lost like 3 matches all year and started at 333 in the world, and it's now about 156. Well, this week she got an entry into the qualification round for a Masters 1000 level event, which is one level below Grand Slam. And in her first round of qualifications, defeated someone who was ranked in the top 100 in the world to advance to the second round. So if she wins that second round match, Kits and Cubs, she will be in the main draw of a Master 1000 event. Very, very, very early in her career, abnormally early on in her career. So we need to really watch out for this young lady. She is doing some amazing things. And then we have a young man named Justin Boulet, who's playing at the lower tiers. I don't know if she had taken some time away to go for education or also had a little injury, but had dropped in the rankings. And he came back and also won a doubles event with his partner, and I believe made the semifinal in the singles event at the most recent tournament in which he's been entered. So again, great stuff from our Canadians, making us proud all around the world. Okay, that's all I got for you today, Kits and Cubs. We will see you tomorrow, hopefully with a shorter show. There's just probably not too much. Probably not a shorter show tomorrow because there'll be so much going on post-Trump. But hopefully, the show a day after tomorrow will start getting to a little bit more normal speed with less people making news or less people vying for personal attention. But until then, be kind to and gentle with yourselves, and have a beaverific day. All right, I am off.